I see way more crowd here, and I already feel like this is actually grand final. So I think it's gonna be awesome.
It is actually the grand final, and it all comes down to this to decide who's going to win it for the spring finals, of course. Let's take a look at some of the finals that we have already had in Jamshid. We have had quite a bunch of them. Not in this exact stadium, although we have had one here in 2016 summer, but even going back to 2013, guys, we have had a bunch of finals here.
Yeah, a lot of them with T1 as well. 4 out of 5 of them with them, so this could be their 5th. Currently with a 3-1 record, so doing pretty good altogether.
Yeah, I mean, sad thing is like actually I'm the only one actually lost here. That's SKT.
Oh no!
Oh man, a little bit sad.
Bit of pain.
Yeah, it's fine though. It's whatever.
At least you were here for one. I think that counts as a player. None of us on this squad outside of Uni have been here, so not yet. Ox is still working on it. We'll see in the future. Yeah, sure. Let's take a look at the playoffs bracket that we have had so far. Funnily enough, it doesn't happen every time, although it does happen pretty often. Our split first and second did make it to the grand finals starting today.
Yeah, I think some of the things that happened along the way, like the KT series being so close, unexpected, but these were our top 2 teams coming out of the regular season, so not a huge surprise that they'll be the ones in the grand final. And it's a matchup, and we've seen a few times before, you know, maybe once or twice.
Well, I mean, the story is kind of like a little bit obvious, but like, you know, it's defending champion against a Victory 11 who's trying to, and I mean, that's awesome too. Like, so I think it's like both teams are actually been here before, like more than a lot, but it's still really fantastic.
Yeah, it's really cool, and both these teams have been here many times. Both of these teams have faced off multiple times as well. Let's take a look at some of the finals that these teams have been in. We can take a look starting newer on
players
the side
who
of
also
T1, and as you can see, guys, of course it is Fakers still here in 2023, surrounded by some, you know, quote-unquote newer players who also do have some great feats to their name.
I think the crazy thing is not just how many are there for Faker, but also how many are champion, and only 3 runners-up out of all of that. Just such a legacy.
Yeah, I mean, even though he's the runner-up, like, it's really crazy thing, but the thing is, like, I don't know, it's like he's full of it. Like, you see, like, basically every seed number, like, it's been 10 years, he's writing histories.
Yeah, and Huni, of course, was a part of some of those as well along the way. As this is the Gen Finals career, Gen G, you should say, and you know, we didn't have to single space to fit all of them in, and actually a couple of players haven't even been to a finals.
Yeah, I feel like Fakers was crammed in there, a bit more space here, but I think it's just crazy the fact that, I mean, Delight and Pays, but especially Pays, debuting and have such a strong performance so far, and, you know, playing yesterday and putting on a really good display.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be pretty, it's a really big key because they played yesterday, so like they already experienced when they're a rookie. So I think that's actually pretty good advantage, I would say, for the who have not been experienced before.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really going to be interesting to see how some of these players do perform in this finals, regardless of experience so far.
Playoffs,
let's take a look at some of the stats we do have for as you can see here, but are fighting off today. So far in playoffs, kind of T1 forming this very defensive, like rock solid team we saw yesterday in the lower bracket finals against forming this. What is your guys' impression of them? Rock solid team we saw yesterday in the lower bracket finals against KT. What is your guys' impression of them?
I mean, I feel like Gen G have had a really controlled game, I think. Maybe not as strong at the start as T1, not as explosive. But when it comes to their setups in the mid-game and the late game, very effective and able to do it without making too many mistakes. I think a really good performance is obviously why they did end up getting to a final.
Yeah, I mean, for Gen G, I would say it's the consistency is the key. Like, that's how you see, like, from the start. Like, they're actually slow starter compared to, like, any other team. But they actually have a really, really strong strategy, like, in the middle of the game. But the thing is, like, T1, if they're actually ahead in the early game, they don't get down. They don't want to be like, they don't want to give to enemy team to opportunity. So I think it's a Gen G, like, it's gonna be really cool to how can they actually make a opportunity how to come back from the game.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if they can make it to a late game scenario on even footing, you could definitely give Gen G a good shot in that case. But will T1 just snowball a little bit too quickly is definitely one of the things we will have to look for as the fans are going wild. Let's take a look at the points of the match that we do have here for this best of 5, because it wouldn't be a grand finals without one of these awesome videos between, of course, T1 and Gen G.
Yeah, and highlighting the junglers with the former 2 finals MVP going to each one. both of them been instrumental as well in the wins so far in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, basically, Peanut, you know, like, he's also really, like, everyone's saying, like, there's a lot of big game hunter, but Peanut is also one of the, like, strong up there, too. And it's like, Owner, like, also, he was really showing really strong in the play, like, entire playoff, too.
And I think particularly Owner and Carrier as a duo, setting up plays and working together is just such a pleasure to see. I feel like, as a jungle support duo, having good synergy there is so important. These two just, it's on another level.
Yeah, I mean, this Peanut, like, these type of the things, like the clutch play, like he brings to the team, like he, like ability that he has, like when actually need to focus, like at the like short term, like he shows like a lot better, especially this playoff.
I think yesterday he absolutely had that game on Wukong, which he just carried completely. I mean, this is a clip from that game, managing to secure the smite. Actually, sorry, this isn't the game where he was on the Wukong. It was game 2 where he popped off. Normally it's game 3, but throughout that series had a really strong performance and stepping up.
Yeah, we can see here number 2 is going to be a focus on the bottom lane, especially the AD carries. Big game enjoyer, AD carries, meaning they hunt the big game, I suppose, in this case. The ultimate confidence, Gumayusi, who, you know, he's really stepped into his own. We've been very surprised and just very lovely to watch him be so clutch in some of these best-of-5s and playoffs and really almost carry the team quite a lot up against FaZe, who seems to have some great confidence himself.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's kind of crazy to me because, like, they're, like, both are so young. Like, they're so young blood. Like, Pace is, like, 0-5 and Gumayusi is 0-2 at Warren. But the thing is, like, it's crazy. I can't believe, like, their consistency and, like, how can they actually focus, like, when they're this young? Because I couldn't do it when I was younger.
I think particularly for Genji as well, for FaZe, a lot of people thought the loss of Ruler, the loss of the Hens, this could end up being a rebuild year for Genji. You know, over time they'd get better and better, maybe not making the finals in spring, but FaZe has shown that he is a hugely important piece of this Genji lineup and has really stepped into the shoes that were there before him.
Yeah, it's great to see a lot of consistency out of a young player, so I think that you know, that could be one of the keys, right? Because you are going to be up against such a strong team. You need to be ready for game 1 through potentially 5 to not falter, not get nervous, not really drop any level of your gameplay. Otherwise, you're probably just going to lose to that bottom lane of T1.
Yeah, and I think the support matchup is a big one. Carrier is in everyone's minds the #1. But I have to say, Delight has really been a positive force for Genji. I think in the series against KT, some Thresh moments were absolutely phenomenal, but he needs to be on his A game if he wants to keep up with Carrier.
Yeah, I mean, especially for Delight, like, thinking that during the playoff, like, people were, like, still, like, unsure, like, how he can actually perform against the T1. But the thing is, like, he actually played really, really well yesterday, especially against the KT series, which is, he even got POG at the game 3, which is this game, as you guys seen. Thresh play was absolutely, he was the game changer. He's the one that actually made Genji be able to come back, and that was crazy. It actually reminds me like old days of the MetLife hook. Like, that's how I feel.
And I feel like at the start of the split, we saw Carrier playing these like marksman supports, which some other supports didn't have as good a read on. But we're back to these playmakers, these engaged champions. I think Delight, he's got his work cut out with it for him, but he has been showing a high level of performance so far.
Yeah, Delight with some strong words for his matchup up against Carrier, kind of challenging him as he's stepping up to the plate. Everybody says Carrier is the best support. He's the best player. Matchup up against Carrier, kind of challenging him as he's stepping up to the plate. Everybody says Carrier is the best support. He's the best matchup up against Carrier. That kind of challenging him as he's stepping up to the plate. Everybody says Carrier is the best support. He's the best matchup up against Carrier. That kind of challenging him as he's stepping up to the plate. Everybody says Carrier is the best support. He's the best matchup.
It is actually really important, especially this meta as well. Like, as we see from even yesterday, like, it was like whoever win the lane phase or like whoever actually moved at the correct spot, correct time. Like, that's why the Chobi was actually better, was just showing, especially yesterday KT series. But the thing is, like, Faker already know how to do it. Like, he's been doing that entire his career, but Chobi, it's, you know, he just learned, and that's gotta be, you know, really interesting point.
Yeah, and I mean, we look at the track record between them. I feel like a lot of players would probably have a similar track record when going up against Faker. He has been so dominant throughout his career, but there was that summer finals where they did manage to take down T1 pretty convincingly, and obviously hoping to repeat that today.
Yeah, I mean, they were able to get a 3-0. I think that's a really good showing, and we actually looked back at the predictions. It did seem like back in that year, just last year, like a lot of people were expecting Gen G to take the throne, but will be interesting to see some of the predictions a little bit later on. Not going to spoil anything here, but I think we all kind of get a feeling, an inkling of some of the who might be the favorite team in this best of 5 for sure. So definitely going to be a big one. Chovy, his timing yesterday was pretty much impeccable. He was a big part of the reason why his team was able to essentially crush KT yesterday. So I wouldn't be surprised if he can match Faker today. But guys, enough about the mid lane. Let's talk about our coaches and listen in to their interviews here.
안녕하세요, 배혜지입니다. 2023 LCK 스프링 스플릿 결승전을 앞두고 있는 두 팀이죠. T1과 젠지의 양 팀의 감독님들과 인터뷰 나눠보도록 하겠습니다. 먼저 뱅기 감독님,
KT yesterday, so
LCK
I wouldn't be surprised if he can match Faker today. But guys, enough about the mid lane. Let's talk about our coaches and listen in to their interviews here.
안녕하세요, 배혜지입니다. 2023 LCK 스프링 스플릿 결승전을 앞두고 있는 두 팀이죠. T1과 젠지의 양 팀의 감독님들과 인터뷰 나눠보도록 하겠습니다. 먼저 뱅기 감독님, 감독으로서는 LCK 첫 결승입니다. 감회가 남다를 것 같은데 기분이 어떠신가요?
결승전에서 맞게 되었는데
감독으로서 LCK에서 결승전을 하는 건 처음이지만 결승전 자체는 자주
저는
와봤기
LCK
때문에
첫
긴장하지
결승입니다.
않고
감회가 남다를 것
잘
같은
하면 괜찮을 것 같습니다.
스코어 감독님, 결승 무대에서 T1과 3연속 만나게 됐습니다. 이 대진에 대한 생각은 어떠신지 궁금해요.
일단 T1이 항상 이제 결승전에서 맞붙게 되었는데 T1이 아무래도 항상 강한 팀이다 보니까 만나게 된 것 같고 저희도 그래도 결승까지 올 수 있는 그런 실력을 어느 정도 입증한 것 같아서 오늘 대회 좀 결승전 되게 기대되고 잘할 수 있을 거라고 생각합니다.
자, 그렇다면 오늘 양 팀의 감독님들이 꼽은 오늘의 승부처는 어디일지 궁금한데요. 먼저 뱅기 감독님.
사실 미디어 데이 때는 정글이라고 하긴 했는데 이번에는 약간 말을 바꿔서 바텀이 될 것 같습니다. 아무래도 젠지 같은 경우에는 그 상체는 그대로인데 바텀이 결승전이 처음이기 때문에 조금 긴장을 많이 할 것 같고 그런 점에서 가장 두드러지지 않을까 생각하고 있습니다.
오, 좋습니다. T1 감독님이 이렇게 말씀하셨는데 그렇다면 젠지 감독님은 어떤 점을 또 승부처로 꼽고 계실까요?
앞서 들었던 대로 어떻게 보면은 스프링 시즌에 T1이 6번이나 우승을 했는데 그 과정에 항상 페이커 선수가 있었다고 생각해서 미드라이너인 저희 초비 정지훈 선수가 오늘 잘할 수 있으면은 충분히 이길 수 있다고 생각합니다.
T1의 LCK 11번째 우승이 걸려있는 오늘의 결승전입니다. 각오 한 말씀 부탁드릴게요.
앞서 말해주셨듯이 스프링에서 결승전 올라갔을 때 한 번도 진 적이 없다고 했으니까 이번에도 부기로 깨지 않도록 하겠습니다.
오, 좋습니다. 자, 그렇다면 스코어 감독님, 디펜딩 챔피언이잖아요. 그래서 우승컵을 지키기 위한 각오 한 말씀 들어보겠습니다.
저희가 디펜딩 챔피언이긴 하지만 이제 시즌 전이나 사실 어제 경기에서조차 사실 기대를 그렇게 크게 받고 있지 않다고 생각해요. 저희가 기대를 오늘도 많이 받진 않을 것 같은데 그런 기대를 받지 않는 상황 속에서도 결승전까지 왔기 때문에 오늘은 꼭 또 이기도록 하겠습니다.
네, 지금까지 T1의 뱅기 감독님 그리고 젠지의 스코어 감독님과 인터뷰 나눠봤습니다.
Very good to hear from both Bengi and Score, as both of them seem pretty confident coming into this one for various different reasons. Either the defending champions from 2022, or you're a team that's won 6 out of 6 spring grand finals that you have been in. So, pretty big match of the Titans, you could say, in this one. And I think it's about time that we do get into predictions. So, for myself, starting here as the host, I will say 3-0 for T1. That is the one that I did go for here.
Ooh,
I am not the only one out of all the talent here that has gone for this prediction. I just feel like T1 has showcased that they are kind of on a different level. And Gen G, they played well yesterday. I think KT kind of underperformed and Gen G took advantage of that. And seeing what we saw already in the playoffs with T1 kind of dominating Gen G getting that one win with Peanut getting the really clutch engage, I think this time T1 will be a little bit more solid and they will get the 3-0.
Yeah,
what do you think?
Me, I'm much more favored towards Gen G because I think they'll get a whole game. But still T1 T1. I still think it's T1 favored. I do think that Gen G have shown that bot lane is confident despite being on a big stage. I just still don't think it's enough to take down these Titans.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think it's the same as T1 3-1 because of the reason why. Like, if you want to be 3-0, you have to be like much better. Like, you have to be really, really good. You have to be every single player. You need to be big at the form. But the thing is, like, I think T1's shown a lot of mistakes from the KT series, even Gen G series. That's how I feel. And also, I think there's a chance that Gen G will play really good in the like at least one game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it could happen. You know, Peanut gets another big engage, or Pays really steps up to the plate. Chovy does what he did yesterday. Absolutely could happen. It really just depends on the form on the day. But guys, we do have some special other guests from around the globe who have put their input in. Let's hear from some of the guys over at the LEC what they think about this finals.
I think T1 is probably going to win the LCK finals. Why? Because they're probably the best team in LCK, at least.
I definitely think T1 will take it. I think they just looked the strongest. Even if they didn't have the best series against KT, they still won in the end. And I'm sure they'll look even better in the final. So I definitely think they will take it and go to MSI as the first seed from LCK. And I'm definitely looking forward to facing them as well. It's always fun to play against T1, playing against Vega. Always a fun matchup, and I'm really looking forward to it.
In my mind, T1 is the favorite. I think that's probably in everyone's mind. But I just feel like when I watch their games, and I especially watch Gumayushi's games, that he is just next level, and he's kind of been next level throughout the entirety of the season, together with Keria. So to me, that bot lane strength is just gonna have too much weight.
I think the prediction between Gen G and SKT for me is that SKT will take it home. I think they're the best team in Korea right now, and they have probably the best bot lane in the world. Also carries, I think, the best support in the world. So I think they'll take it home, and yeah.
Gen... no, they won't. I think T1 will win. Go Faker! Faker!
Well, there you have it. Everybody voting for T1 over on the LEC, or at least the people we have interviewed. Thank you so much to Lore to gathering up all those players and asking them their thoughts, of course, on this series. Not a big surprise, and a lot of highlights, especially on the bottom lane. Guma really stepping up to the plate. Keria known as one of the best players. So, any thoughts on their predictions?
I mean, I feel like everyone is feeling T1 are favored, but you know, we've seen upsets before. We've seen miracle stories like DRX at Last World. So, I think it's T1 favored, but there's still a chance.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the same thing, like as what the score said, like which is like I think that not many there's not gonna be like a lot of expectation or favor for Gen G, but the thing is like I think they've been making upset, they've been making like really good play, and they've shown really strong. I feel like also the expectations become like because they have more rookies, like more so that's why the expectations was a little bit rough. But the thing is like I think especially Pays and Dilla, I think they've been stepping up really good.
They really have. I think that, as I said before, it's really about form on the day, right? So if you are playing at your best as Pays and you are playing at your best as Delight, they have a chance. They absolutely do. You never know what's going to happen. The Faker Chovy matchup we talked about, the top lanes, or the top side of the map, very strong for both of these teams. So never really know what's going to happen, guys. But we do have this grand finals about to hit us right now. Let us jump straight into the opening ceremony right now.
우승을 몇 번을 했는데요. 정말 얼마나 하고 싶었을까요, 우승. 그렇습니다. 지역 앞에 있는 전체 우승! 하면서 빅토리 담은 기합니다. LCK의 명예를 되찾았습니다. 창단 이후 첫 우승.
작년에도 우승을 많이 할 수 있었을 것 같은데 못해줘서 좀 아쉬워 보이네요.
한계를 모르는 그리핀. 유시드들이 킹덤 3대0 최고의 탑선론을 The undisputed best team in the world. There it is. Rocks Tigers take it. 전설은 계속 이어집니다. And SKT with Easyun takes the 3-0. 좋아요. 말 못할 정도로. 시작입니다. 이제 우리가 더나 통일을 한다. 결과는 예상이 나갔습니다. 아니카가 꿈에 나오겠어요. 공방의 우승은 LG. 챌린저스 우승컵이죠. 또 LCK에 진입했습니다.
얘들아 나 심장이 너무 빨리 뛰어.
자, 그리고 바로 들어가. 아, 얘들아 고생했다.
서머까지 할 수 있도록 또 열심히 달려야 되니까.
얘들아 고생했다.
서머까지 할 수 있도록 또 열심히 달려야
세레모니 맛집이에요.
이빈지 8강전 생각나게 해줄게.
디플러스야. 우승까지 가자. 기다려요. 대왕 젠지. 멋진 경기력으로 정규 시즌을 마무리했습니다. 그리고 결국에 T1이 결승 진출 확정.
Empezamos, ¿qué tal la transmisión?
오리진 어게인 2012년부터 시작된 11년의 역사, 오늘도 그 역사는 계속됩니다. 자, 그러면 그 중심에 있는 두 팀을 만나보도록 하겠습니다. 먼저 돌고 돌아 다시 이 무대에 섭니다. LCK 3연속 결승 진출. 멤버는 바뀌었어도 그 강력함은 그대로입니다. T1 나와! 작년 서머 기억나게 해줄게. 동시에 우리의 타이틀을 지켜낸다. 디펜딩 챔피언 젠지! 이에 맞서는 그런데 이 팀을 말로 어떻게 표현해야 할지, 이럴 땐 그냥 숫자로 LCK 연속 결승 진출 횟수 4, 총 결승 진출 횟수 14, 우승 횟수 10, 그중 스프링 결승 진출 횟수 6, 거기에 패한 횟수 0. 이거 당연히 LCK U1. 팀명에도 1. 오늘 그 역사적 1획 기대하시라. LCK의 압도적 1황 T1 아니 과연 젠지가 2연속 우승을 통해 그들의 타이틀을 지켜낼 수 있을 것인지, 아니면 T1이 작년 썸머의 서력을 통해 11번 우승의 금자탑을 만들어낼 수 있을 것인지. Let the finals begin. 2023 우리은행과 함께하는 LCK 스프링 스플릿 대망의 그랜드 파이널을 함께 해주신 많은 여러분의 뜨거운 환호 함성과 함께 지금부터 시작하겠습니다.
선수 시절이나 감독인 지금이나 목표에 대한 수많은 질문을 받을 때마다 제 대답은 항상 우승이었습니다.
이번 시즌 처음 시작할 때부터 결승전만 바라보고 여기까지 왔습니다. 다시 만난 만큼 제대로 보여줘야죠.
이 자리에 서기까지 정말 많은 우여곡절이 있었는데 한번 붙어봐서 이제는 어떻게 상대해야 될지 감이 오고 이번에는 그 실수들을 반복하지 않을 겁니다.
좀 설레고 부담감도 어느 정도 있지만 좋은 팀원들과 우승을 해보도록 하겠습니다.
최근 대회에서 아쉽게 우승컵을 놓치다 보니까 우승컵을 드는 그 기분이 그립더라고요. 팬분들도 T1의 우승에 목말라 있다는 걸 느끼고요.
지금 출발할 시간이야.
저희가 더 단단해진 만큼 이번엔 꼭 우승하겠습니다.
주연과 조연이 항상 정해져 있는 스토리는 뻔하고 재미없잖아요. 주연을 젠지로 한번 바꿔보겠습니다.
T1이 지금 약점이 없는 팀이긴 하지만 제가 생각하기엔 세상에 절대라는 건 없어서 오늘만큼은 저희가 이겨보도록 하겠습니다.
T1은 상대팀이 알고도 당할 수밖에 없는 팀이라고 생각해요.
무슨 무빙인가요, 캐리아?
우승하고 파임까지 받아서 왜 최고의 선수가 캐리아인지 또 한번 보여드리겠습니다.
긴장은 되지만 재밌을 것 같아요.
페이지가 넘어와도
바텀은 뭐 상대가 안 되죠.
에이스 해줍니다.
재미가 없을 것 같아요. 상대가 너무 못해서. 디펜딩 챔피언이 누군지 잊지 마세요.
저희는 이번 시즌에 젠지한테 진 적이 없습니다. 최고의 선수가 있는 곳은 T1이니까.
우승도 좋지만 결승에서 T1을 이기는 게 저한테는 더 재미있거든요. 제대로 꺾어주고 싶습니다.
(10년) 동안 페이커라는 이름으로 10개의 트로피를 가져오기까지 힘들고 어려운 순간들도 있었지만 그때마다 초심을 잃지 말자고 다짐했습니다. 팬분들과 함께 다시 처음부터 시작한다는 마음으로 이번에도 트로피를 가져오겠습니다. 저는 결코 흔들리지 않습니다.
꺾어줄게. 이젠 젠지가 비상할 차례.
It is time for the LCK 2023 Spring Grand Final to begin. Welcome to the caster desk. I'm Atlas. I'm joined by both Chronicler and Wolf here as we look to start this one up, this best of 5 between T1 and Genji. Who could have seen it coming, gentlemen?
Well, you know, not us. Only Chronicler saw it coming. A lot of us were thinking KT was going to win the match yesterday. And Gen.G coming off the momentum of a best-of-5 victory going into this finals, though, absolutely as the underdogs. However, they are the defending champions, so maybe with an upset win tonight, they can get the back-to-back.
And what I think is big is that Gen.G played right here. Same stage where they were yesterday, where they got a decisive win against KT. And they need all the help they can get. We very clearly established that if there is a favorite, it is T1. But maybe all those factors can help and make this a sick best-of-5.
Absolutely, and it was this exact stage that T1 took down both Chovy and Doran in the 2019 final as well. And I don't think I need to remind anyone, or maybe I do need to remind them of what the outcome of that one was, because it was very fast, and it was a 3-0. Let's have a look at some of the predictions here. See whether there's any gold mixed in with this red, because I don't know whether there will be. Jonas Strong, okay.
Of course.
Just Jonas Strong being,
Notice a
being
few
Jonas Strong.
3-0s listed in here as well. Myself,
Yeah.
Valdez, and Atlas going for that one. Everyone else on our team going for the safer
Just Jonas
3-1.
Strong being
Notice a few that there will be one game dropped here. But it's no surprise that the vote here is so heavily in favor of T1. If you rewind back to the summer season that Gen.G took, it was all gold, all Gen.G votes. And it's a better read that Gen.G had on that summer meta that made them the favorites. Tonight, it's better form for T1 across the season. The meta they developed that Gen.G is still catching up on.
A year ago, Jonas Strong predicted a 3-0 in spring, which we all know how that final went.
Yep.
Was a 3-0, and I think he's relented. And if Jonas Strong is doubting, that says a lot here. T1 has been in such amazing form, have beaten them so many times as, yes, that is a prediction right there.
Yeah, that's a T1 fan prediction right there. And to be perfectly honest, despite the predictions from any of us here in the LCK, we know that the fans are definitely going to be behind T1. It's an uphill battle for Gen.G here, but there's one thing that I can't help but think about when I think of Gen.G in this final, and it's FaZe has the chance to pave that golden road. That dream is still alive, and before it officially dies, I'm going to stay excited about it, because I think this is what Gen.G fans can really hold out for, because this is a massive talent that is blossoming here in the LCK this season, and I can't wait to see what he does in the future, regardless of the outcome of this match. But if he wins, if he does it, oh my goodness.
His name will go down in history forever as a Royal Roader. And for those who don't know what that means, it is to win a Korean championship in your first season participating in said league. This is his first season, and tonight's the last chance he'll have to be a Royal Roader. He has played only a few best-of-5s. This will be his fourth to play in the LCK. He's playing against Faker, who you could argue has played 30 best-of-5s across his career. If you consider the Easy Hoon series, you could say 29, but still, it's an overwhelming amount, 10 times more the experience nearly.
And what's really cool to me is that if FaZe does end up winning, which again, we're prefacing this because T1 is very, very heavily expected to take Gen.G down today, FaZe will be the second youngest player ever to win an LCK title, because even if he does win today, the most young will be Faker. So there is so much riding on it. Would be an incredible story here, but Guma and Keria have looked so incredibly good. And even with the glow-up that I think Delight in particular has had, Delight turned into an amazing support. But he's up against Keria.
Yeah.
And that's just not fair.
Yeah. And how fitting of a story would it be for Delight and FaZe to really, in their first LCK finals, defeat the best duo lane in the LCK, #1 in AD carry, Gumayusi, #1 in support, and the spring MVP Keria in a best-of-5 after being the underdogs in that losers final yesterday. It is just something that is impossible to imagine nearly.
Yeah.
But if it does happen, we'll witness it here today, and you guys all watching this, we're here to see it live.
T1 will select the blue side here for game #1. They did have side selection. This has been a bit of a hot topic between us. I don't personally know which side is necessarily stronger. I feel like T1 has more capability on the red side, but we've seen some beautiful blue side drafts. And here we are into pick and ban for game #1 of the 2023 Spring Grand Final. T1 will ban away Zeri. as is the right thing to do.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think Zeri or the Varus are going to see the Rift here today. The Lucian, an interesting one, because that is a pick that, against most other teams, has dropped from the ban list, but T1, we know how good Guma and Carrier are at it, and it will still be respected. The same for the Cassante, so Varus is still open here. Do note Sejuani, another pick that is extremely high priority. Expect to see one of those two BB1 there, but that Cassante, Genji showed even yesterday how good, but no! And straight back to it!
Oh, I love this, because this is not only a good first pick for T1, but it is also exactly what Genji lost on in their game one just yesterday, and it was first picked.
Then this is the Jace that you are going to guarantee yourself top prio with as T1, as the best top laner in the LCK. Prioritizing this early means you're going to at least have guaranteed control here. What you lose, potentially, is a Sejuani pick, but because Genji will actually lock both the Xayah and Rakan in here to make sure that duo is not denied, T1 will also now have the opportunity to have Sejuani and Varus. So you have great poke here, you have long-range engage, and amazing follow-up with the Varus ultimate, and Peanut's going back to the Wukong into this matchup.
And while Genji has a very strong team fighting core, Wukong and Rakan, we've seen how efficient this Pace is on comfort already. T1 has so much range with Jace and Varus, even if you do end up going on hit, which Guma has done with great efficiency. The poke from those two champions means that a lot of pressure is going to be on Genji, whereas for T1, they can just fish for poke, for a Varus ultimate, or Owner with now the Sejuani available as well, try and go for a single pick, and if it doesn't work out, you can just back off and keep on poking as the Malphite ban. Even though Doran has struggled on it, I think into the Jace, still a very strong pick, so I like the respect.
And let's see if Chovy's going to play the LeBlanc here. The Ahri is available, but he does not have the Vi, and the Lissandra ban was leading towards one of those two picks. It will be the Ahri here, so they have not a lot of range, but they have really good engage. And the ability to pick off these squishy targets in the backline in Genji's composition is amazing, but one of the biggest ways to shut it down is the Veigar.
Wow, and Veigar actually, often we see Ahri picked into it, but we've seen Veigar win these matchups many times, so not necessarily a counter pick at all. Carrier thinking about cooking, we'll see what he is going to go for. Can't actually be a chef, unfortunately, because Tahm Kench has been banned away, but this is often what we talk about as being the better option, and that is Kalista, keeping Varus alive, but no, the engage going to be available here as he locks down the Nautilus.
And if this was a few weeks ago, pre all the nerfs, this would 100% be Kalista or Caitlyn. But Carrier once said, I just want to play Nautilus. I'm playing these things because they're the best. After the rounds of nerfs, him having a great sense of engage is really strong. The Gragas here I like, very strong into the chase. We know Doran is good in it. But with that Veigar lock-in in particular, the biggest goal for Genji with this comp is try and hard engage. You're playing into a Veigar that makes that so much harder, so I really like what T1 have drafted here. I think T1 has, or Genji rather, has a very strong team comp, very well rounded, but actually executing it when T1 is on form and is expected to win both bot and top lane quite handily can be rough.
I think with no prio here for Genji, it's going to be a very difficult game to play out. And while we did see Doran absorb the KT roster pressure yesterday on the Gragas pick, and we saw roams up from mid, from Chovy, we did see Peanut put that focus there topside. They turned what was a weak point into a pressure point. T1 is not a team that will make those mistakes and fall into those traps. T1 will sit on their prio, grab early objectives and gold, and they'll outplay you in cross maps even in the early game. And drafting for team fight against a team that will always have the leads in the mid game is such a terrifying prospect, but it's what Genji's opted into for this red side game 1 draft.
Yeah, Bengi going on a little bit of a journey before finally bowing to score. Two absolute veterans and legends here of the LCK now facing off as coaches as well. And I agree with you guys with the assessment of these two drafts. I think if we had have seen this T1 draft yesterday in the hands of KT, we would have been nervous. But looking at it in the hands of T1, I am not nervous at all. I'm in fact a little bit anxious for Genji on the other side because they've got exactly what they want, but they have to weather a storm. And that storm is now coming from T1, and I don't think anyone's ready for that. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen, onto the Rift for game number 1. The grand final, the first grand final that we've had here in the LCK, because we finally got a lower bracket, so I get to say grand final. I always say it. I always say grand final, but it's never been correct.
It's been grand every time.
It has been grand. It has been a grand final, used as an adjective, but it hasn't actually been a grand final, you know, the noun.
Technically correct is the best kind of correct, Atlas.
Now
you
guess.
finally are.
It's both types of
claim
grands.
that.
Yeah. Now it's both types of grands, and it's 2 types are better than 1.
Yeah.
And
very happy about that. And let's see how this early game is going to go, gentlemen, because I feel like T1 should have some advantages around this Rift. I want to be able to talk about this as being close, but it's hard.
So the one thing that people are probably focusing on in terms of the runes here is going to be Gumayusi, right? He obviously is not going to be going into the lethality variant with Comet with the support that he has opted into here in the Nautilus. So it is going to be more auto-attacking on hit. Zeus is going to come over here at level 1 and push Peanut out. Nice attempt here from Peanut to start the vertical jungle, but he will be denied. This is actually really going to hurt his early game. They're slowing him down quite significantly. Now Owner's coming up.
Yeah.
Level advantage.
Can he hit level 2 in time? Owner's on his way.
Yeah, Owner is going to be able to see this as, all right, Peanut going to be able to take that one away. So hits level 2, makes it over the wall. That's a flash from Owner, though. The flash to follow from Peanut as he looks to try and escape. But Faker is just going to put him into the cage. I don't know whether he'll have the W available as he's just going to stand still. Oh no, Peanut, and that is first blood. Faker picks it up, and it's already going wrong for Gen G.
Great plan here from Peanut, but you get scouted out, and then you get punished. And Faker's over there, has the cage at level 2, and Owner's over there with red buff. You are able to secure the level 2, but you're not able to escape. And with that red buff taking through in the flash to guarantee permafrost, Faker has just enough time to come over. And a disastrous start here for the jungle for Gen G.
And at first, when Peanut was spamming his penguin, we might think, does he know there's a ward? Clearly knew that he would be targeted here, or is just spamming penguins all the time, which is kind of his MO. But by being spotted is bad, but is recoverable from. But by his decision to then go back, try to get wolves, is what really costs him, because this early on especially is hold up.
Yeah, engage and counter-engage is already. Carrier's lit on fire. Pays trying to fight back, but a 1 trade here for T1 if you're talking about 80 carry health bars.
And yeah, as we were saying, as the bot lane trading, very aggressive. If Peanut just goes to his red buff, he's behind, but it's salvageable. But with him dying and giving over an early kill to Veigar, the troubles are already starting. And Doran,
speaking of troubles,
might be in trouble here as well.
Yep, that's Owner rewarding his top laner for scouting out his jungle. And we'll see, Winter's Wrath is going to go wide, but there's the flash. Permafrost is in, and T1 are going to look for their second. Doran actually going to turn it and gets the solo kill 1v2.
And Doran does it again, and I said right before this, you put Doran on the Gragas, and he's going to be a hard rock at the top lane, but T1 aren't going to opt into this. They won't make mistakes.
This wasn't on my bingo card, Wolf!
And it looked good because Zeus actually goes into melee form. The body block comes through, the body slam from Doran, but he's got the range damage follow-up. But Doran plays it so well, gets that second stun, and turns this around. And suddenly, his top lane is a bit of a hole here for T1.
And that's very important, because if Gen G would have also lost their top laner, Doran is put into a deficit, Zeus starts snowballing, I think the game very quickly becomes nigh unplayable. We know how good T1 is at pushing leads, but with Doran outplaying the 1v2, Zeus making a crucial mistake, overstepping, dying with his flash up as well. What we see instead is a top lane matchup where Doran, for all his faults, if he does get a lead, generally is able to hold on to it very, very nicely. And right here,
look at this. The body slam blocks him for the melee, but he's still got, of course, the transform to come over here and do the additional damage. Doran waits till the last possible second, flashes here, and then as the damage is trying to come through here, he gets the extra body slam, and just a miscalculation there on the cooldown of body slam.
It was exactly the time it came off cooldown as well. Like, that was very close.
Perfect cookie timing as well. Shout out to him for that.
Yeah.
And he didn't have W, right? He went for 2 points in Q. So normally he would have had a little bit more health, could have used the resistance and maybe not taken quite as much. But I think that it actually helped him out, because Zeus saw that health bar, was like, hey, I can pick this up for free, and got promptly punished, meaning that Doran going to be feeling a little bit better than he otherwise would. Zeus, though, also needs to not overstate. He picked up call, went back. He had to use his teleport. and will still be in a decent spot. But if that keeps happening, if Doran finds more outplays than we saw yesterday, how well Gen.G played out his Gragas, T1 might be in trouble.
Yeah, an early game kill for Gragas isn't going to be lane changing. It's not going to guarantee him prio. But consider that we were going into this playoffs just in general saying Doran is going to struggle when he faces off against two players, Zeus and Keen, the two above him, of course, in All-Pro for top. And he's really delivered here at the end of yesterday's series and now in the first game of just being the one who's going to soak that pressure extremely well. We said he does it against most laners, but he will fail against Zeus and Keen. At the end of the series yesterday, he did not. And it is definitely a good look for Doran in this first game.
And this is actually going to bring up a conversation that we were kind of starting yesterday with this new format, with the fact that we had a best of 5 yesterday, that Gen.G were able to win. I think the immediate assumption, as we might be interrupted here momentarily by a bit of an engage, Faker does have the cage ready. Peanut once again finds himself inside it, but he's just going to walk it out, but Chicken secured here by T1. But to go back to the thought, you might think that it's a detriment for Gen.G to have to play 2 best of 5s in a row. I think for a player like Doran especially, he's leveled up and he can continue to do so, as now Faker is going to go into melee range against Chovy here, finds himself the burst of flash forward, but it's not going to quite be enough to lock down the kill. That is why you always drink your potions, ladies and gentlemen. Flash for flash though, and Faker he's laning real well today.
Yeah, just committing the ult here for tempo and almost gets the kill. It's a trade of flashes, so this is a lane we've seen our best mid laners get prio in as the Veigar, and even with a good sidestep there from Chovy, the damage is just too much.
And even with Chovy staying alive, what this gets T1 is a first Drake. Hextech Dragon going to be given over here as an individual Drake, obviously quite strong. Ability haste and attack speeds are stats that anyone loves to get. And Phase and Delight actually on the previous few plays were mostly ahead of the roam because they have actually been playing the lane out very well, right? So we saw previously as well when they were going for the invades, Gen.G was ready to commit, knowing that their bot lane was on the roam.
Okay, they're going to look to try and escape from this one. Flash out from Carrier as now Bladecaller not going to get the snare, but the Q is going to miss. Featherstorm has to be invested. Actually, a huge cooldown is here on the top side. Zeus is looking for a solo. Just needs to hit another shock blast, and that could be a dead Doran, but no, he takes a drink. And he should be all right. Just Gragas things, I guess. And Zeus is now going to get control of this wave back.
Yeah. Bottom lane going a lot better for Pays and Delight than it would have if we had seen that double 80 carry lane in the bottom side. His owner hits level 6. Is not going to actually commit to anything here. But that prio alone hasn't been enough because topside is so under the control of T1, and with that near kill onto Chovy, they're able to take that first Drake. Now this is the expectation with this draft here for T1. We already know it's not going to be Hextech Soul. Ocean the next Drake here. If they can stack 2, the Soul is going to be a big deal what it ends up being here. As Gen.G, they have a great team fighting composition, but T1 is already starting the ball rolling.
And the more advantage that T1 can get, the better, but as mentioned, as Doran.
Yeah, looks for some cooldowns immediately. The flash out from the Gragas and Zeus. I think he's done it. There's the return of the favors. No, Doran's going to be able to make it out. He just walks it off.
Walk it out.
This guy is immune to death.
And the man, his body slams that minion wave, and Zeus goes in. His reaction time is insane. He's just waiting for that opportunity in the bush, but still doesn't have the damage yet.
Do note we have a double lane swap here. Both teams wanting to contest the early Heralds. There is still no Featherstorm for Pace. That is big. Guma has his ultimate available, but Delight does have a level lead. Wouldn't be surprised to see Carrier try and soak some XP somewhere if we do end up getting a fight. Looking at the river though, very firmly in control of T1. And for their comp, I think that vision control is extremely important because as long as they're aware of where all the initiation is, they should have a great position at fighting for Dragon control, fighting for Herald control, because of their poke. And with Cage, you can't really dissuade the Rakan, the Gragas, and the Wukong from going in.
And beyond that, I think the team fights here for Gen.G are ultimate-based. So if you can bait ultimates out, the Pays, for example, still doesn't have his. It's really difficult to team fight, whereas a Cage alone could just push Gen.G away, and you have all the follow-up range damage. And they do, of course, let Doran go down here, but because he's a Gragas, he can't take a plate here. Zeus just saves teleport, is able to come over here and deal with this. Wasn't going to be able to help his team out if there was that Cage engage with the follow-up damage. Doesn't need to, and is going to be able to react to Doran. So T1 saved the plate bottom side, grabbed the Herald, It's a bloodless fight. There's nobody goes down, but T1 are the winners of the objective.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, really smart play here for T1. They had the timer on the Featherstorm. They knew that Gen G couldn't fight without it, and even though they rotated their top lane up, they weren't able to get the control, and therefore, it is a free Herald their way. 2 minutes now on the next Drake. There will definitely be a Featherstorm for that one. We'll see whether Gen G can even things out on the Drake score. 600 gold the lead here for T1.
Knows.
As, yeah, Peanut gets all the information. Doran's over here as well as Zeus. Can he stay alive? As in goes Peanut. He finds the Cyclone. Zeus could be taken down, but no, it's the fadeaway ultimate from Owner to save his top laner, but I don't think it's going to be enough. There's the Q, and now Owner is underneath his turret. Faker is going to come in and look to save his jungler, and once again, Peanut is put inside a cage. He's done this so many times, he's going to stop it. There is the depth charge, and Delight is going to get them out of there, but it's not going to be enough to save Peanut. A 1-for-1 in the end.
Really well timed.
And crucially there, it's Faker that, with the TP, is able to help. Guma and Carrier arrive as well. And while the initial play, very nicely done here by Gen G, T1 are actually able to punish. Not quite enough for Gen G there. I think if they kill Zeus a little bit earlier, if Delight and Peanut were going in there together, it would have been a really easy play, but Peanut spent so much time.
Well, Jovi's going to have to use his cleanse pretty early on here. And switched over to that one with his unsealed spellbook, like many Aries do.
And as you mentioned, Peanut knows they're here, wants to come over on a very squishy Jace here and look for the engage. But watch this from Owner. The save here nearly on Zeus' life comes through, means Peanut has to flash, and his Cyclone's already been activated. So T1 identify with Faker's teleport coming over, he should be able to arrive here and set up this cage for massive damage before the rest of the team can get away. He's got the ult and carry at basically max range, takes him out with the ultimate here. Delight also has to burn an ultimate, so many of these tools used for Gen G, and like I was saying before, you really need these ultimates to win skirmishes. T1 can win them basically with basic abilities.
What we did see is that a couple of waves have now gone into the turret, and I think that's why the gold's still relatively even here. Pace has just been parked in the side lane, whereas the rest of T1 has mostly been responding, and that means that right now, gold, which was firmly in lead of T1, still slightly in favor of them, but kind of a negligible advantage that they have here right now. And the second Drake is live. Again, look at the control that T1 have here in Vision. That's going to be a recurring theme here. Very, very valuable here for this composition. Has the range of that Jace and Varus available.
Yeah, a couple of plates will go over, thanks to Shelly. She will allow Zeus to feel a lot better in this matchup that Doran has been sneaking out of so many times. But Gen G will use the opportunity of that top side attention to grab themselves the dragon. It's an ocean, but it does mean that T1's a little bit further away from the Cloud Soul.
But the early serrated Dirk here purchase for Zeus means playing into this matchup of the Ahri feels pretty amazing. You know, they put the Veigar to the Gragas where he's just going to be free stacking AP. Now has a Rod of Ages. The flipping the solo lane matchup here really well and putting the pressure on. Zeus picks up another solo plate there on the top side after the crash comes through. So much money being picked up on this Jace right now. Chovy?
Oh, great little charm here from Chovy. As Zeus finds himself the shock blast. Chovy still needs to be careful. He flashes to get the Orbit Deception, and that's the solo kill.
Really big moment there from Chovy. Goes in aggressively. And Zeus really struggling in this game. Not something that we're used to seeing from him. But in high-pressure games in the past, he has sometimes looked somewhat out of sorts here. It all starts with the charm. Zeus also, again, going down with the flash here. And getting gold on Chovy's Ahri is big because we know how incredibly impactful. Currently, I think 18-4 after yesterday on this champion. 2 levels up as well. And you got to respect it.
You know, Zeus here goes back in. He actually gets the knockback, which is pretty well played. It's the best he could have done there, but flashing the initial charm would have been the play. Tough to waste your flash in a lane like this, though, considering the Spirit Rush will chase you down. And he opts not to use it, but now he's 0-3, and we were talking about the pressure he was putting on that top lane, grabbing that additional plate, but Chovy strikes back in a big way. And if you don't dodge those, you're going to go down.
I don't think it's too much of an issue for T1 just yet. You can see they're still ahead in gold, and plate gold has gone to the Jace. He's got the most on his team, even with Chovy, of course, who is going to be a force to be reckoned with as well. But this mid-game, if it's not about T1 taking control with their huge range advantage, then Gen G, they can bide their time. And if Paze is playing like he was yesterday, he's pretty reliable when he's on a late game carry like this.
That's mean. Are they going to target him again?
Maybe.
Well, Owner is in a little bit of trouble. There's the charm. As in goes Delight, they are not risking anything. They're going to make sure that that is a dead Sejuani.
I mean, Genji now in a very comfortable position in this game. As the second Herald spawns here in 30 seconds, and Owner doesn't have flash just yet, no way to get out of this. And they're very comfortably in control of top side and mid. And yeah, Faker's going to be able to hold his own on the bottom side of the map. Doesn't have teleport set here, but Genji should be able to just group up and take this.
What's really big there as well is that it's actually Pace picking up the kill. And as you were pointing out, this player has been playing way beyond what can be expected of a rookie in his first split, has been looking like a veteran in how he's been able to take leads. The main issues for Genji ever arose when he falls behind in lane, which is something that in the early playoffs actually happens quite a lot.
Reminds us of his first game, right? Against this very opposition.
He got clapped.
He did.
Without Peanut having Cyclone here, diving this isn't really going to happen. It's not realistic. So with a little bit of contest in mid here and Zeus wrestling back Cryo of topside, it will in fact be T1 who take this Herald. Genji not willing to fight without Cyclone. So ultimately that pick onto Owner, while it was a kill going over to Pays, it's going to cost them the Herald because of that ultimate usage, and there's no cross-map available without Peanut being able to set up the dive. So Faker just sitting pretty down here, and they will secure now both Rift Heralds on the Rift.
And Zeus should be able to pick up first turret blood as well on this Jace, unless Owner decides he has a different place for it, and I don't think they'll need to. Just press W in range form and take down turrets basically for free. And that is exactly what Zeus is going to do. So despite the fact that he's 0-3, he's probably got a lot of money.
Yeah, I also want to call back to a game where I think his KDA was like, it was I don't know if it was 04, like somewhere in between the 04 and the 07 range. Wasn't very good. Got similar to this, pummeled in lane as Jace, and then ended up doing the most damage regardless and carrying late game team fights. So shouldn't over-index on Zeus struggling in lane, but what I do think is important that a lot of T1's wins, particularly in the middle and the end of the split when they looked as dominant as they did, were them snowballing so well. And what we're looking at right now with picks like this, Genji effectively denies an opportunity to T1. And what I love here is that it starts off as maybe we pick off Zeus again, but then T1 actually responds and they kind of read the play, but Genji is one step ahead of them. That's not something that we've seen often.
Yeah, but it comes at the cost of two critical ultimates. Genji aren't able to take the Herald, so T1 remain ahead in gold. The biggest concern for this Jace being 0-3 is that he hasn't been able to farm very efficiently, is behind Doran, significantly behind Chovy, who he's been laning against for most of this game. And as you can see, his item value here at this mid-game, still 5.7k, but his Muramana spike is going to be significantly delayed. So mid-game poke damage, a little bit slower than you'd like to see on a Jace in this composition, which gives Genji the opportunity to close that gap faster and more safely. Lift alone in this top lane right now, no one to answer.
Not a lot of attention being given to that top side as this Drake seems to be the focus of Genji right now. Doran with the ability to teleport in. And I didn't think that this game would be one where we'd have to discuss what team fights are going to look like for both of these teams, because it looked to me like T1's setup was going to be enough to sort of skew that to the point where these team fights are going to be really difficult. But now, so much is going to be on the shoulders of both Owner and Faker to control the team fights along, like with Carrier as well. Getting all of that CC down. Because Doran, if he finds himself a flank, if Gumayushi dies early, Genji could just roll over them.
Absolutely. Going to use this Herald to try to get mid-prio, but they're by no means secure in terms of this Drake setup right now. Cage is going to whiff too. Chovy did not break his Banshee's Veil. And this is a fight that Genji absolutely could take with Flash Cyclone.
Brute Force does get the outer turret in the mid lane, though. Certainly a good thing here for T1. Can they get the Drake off the back end of it, though, is the question.
Chovy, just as Faker, both level 13 to the highest level in the game, both of them having an incredible amount of farm available here. And this Banshee's Veil is something that... Oh, Peanut!
Oh dear, Peanut just going to go in though as Chovy looks for the charm. The flash out from Carrier though. It is going to be Warrior Trickster, so Peanut is going to have to get out and he has to use both of his Cyclone charges on kind of nothing. As Doran looks for the angle, it's the cast to deliver the jungle, and that should be the Drake. But now, the team fight in Everfrost is beautiful here from Chovy, as it's a double kill for Pays.
And Genji have bet on this composition, saying we are going to be the better team fighting team. And when you have a Herald crashing in mid, it's hard to actually keep your cool. Don't use your ultimates to try to deny that. But they give up the mid turret, set up the better engage here. T1 walks straight into it, long range, pulling the jungler out, then having that follow-up.
And it comes from the player that was criticized most, that was considered the weak point. Doran is the one that sets up the play right there, gets Owner into the rest of the team, and right now, Gen G with an incredible team fighting composition starting to stumble. Look at Pace. He is monstrously fed.
Yeah, and this is just an angle where Gen G are like, we have all of our ults, and it looks like Peanut's out of position, but what he's really doing here is setting up for a hard engage here, and he's able to get through this cage, and then when Doran shows up here on the TP, when T1 are trying to come back in here, they're like, okay, Cyclone's down. They've been baited in. Doran over the wall, body slam into cast. That's the end of the jungler, and they see they've got the damage. Delight makes a call. Some iffy ones yesterday, especially on the Tom Kench, but looking clean so far here in this first game.
And it's like both Doran and Delight have continued their improvement.
Yeah.
Which was the trend yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's like this is a game 5, actually, not a game 1. Because it's like that series is just extended. Really beautiful play. Doran especially, man. I don't know what he had for breakfast, but I want some. I want to be able to perform at the level of this man right now, because he is doing so well and so much better than so many expected going into Zeus here today.
And what is very, very cool to see is that, hold up.
Speaking of which, finds another gorgeous cask! The special delivery into the Cyclone of Peanut, and Zeus is dead once again. Gen G, I thought they had their eyes on the Baron for a second there, but they're probably not going to get ahead of themselves.
The level of comfort that Gen G have available here is crazy, but what they're doing here is exactly the same thing as they did last year, right? Like, the benefactor of all of these kills is Pace. Last year it was Ruler, and the team fighting is still there, but it's the top side that enables it. Doran, Peanut, and Chovy are setting up so many of these plays. Pace just has to walk up, gets the last hits, but if you're a fed Xayah in a late-game team fight, your impact is going to be incredible. T1.
It's a T1 Baron, and Gen G, no vision here, but they are aware of this. They're going to have to rotate over quickly. TP will be denied.
Chovy, can he find it? No! Doesn't actually see him. And now Teleport is going to have to come in here. Gen G in position. There it is, and the pickup immediately onto the Ari. Oh no, Chovy's been caught there before.
And not only does he not deny the TP, but he's picked instantly in this fight. TP wasted to 5v4.
Cage goes down. Let's see what they can actually find here as Peanut is able to use his warrior tricks to the Baron is down incredibly low. Peanut gets stunned. Can he flash in? He flashes the wrong way. Can he get over the wall? The answer is no, and they pick up Peanut anyway. T1's back in control.
You can't steal a Baron from Guma and Owner, especially when Guma is on Varus. It just isn't going to happen.
And T1 were looking like they were backed into a corner. That's when they're most dangerous. Start up the Baron, and the response doesn't look too rough. As we go back to this play, very nicely set up here, and a great showing of the Gen G topside. And up until this point, they were looking impeccable. But do note, there's 2 wards here, right? And it's Faker's case that sets it all up. And even with Banshees, you're not getting out of that one.
Oh no, that was everything in the kitchen sink thrown at that ward.
Gen G here with a desperate deny attempt, but not only is the Baron going to go over, but it's going to be additional gold. Meanwhile, bit of a fight here.
Yeah, bit of a fight in live that is happening. Delight trying to escape. Battle Dance is going to do that as the Baron secured by an empowered Q. Owner once again in a precarious position, and Faker, it's his turn to get caught out of position. And now Pace is going to be delivered a 4th kill this time around. Oh my, I wasn't expecting calamity like this in game 1, gentlemen.
And you mentioned this, Chronicler, just moments ago about last season. Okay, hold on, we're still fighting.
Yep, that is Peanut being put into the bouncy castle as he's down extraordinarily low. Battle Dance comes in. Owner says not on my watch. And he will be able to lock down the jungler. The flash forward from Carrier, but he finds the wall. That is the Orbit Deception. Chovy gets himself out of there, and so does Carrier.
And this is a team fighting composition here for Gen G that is reliant on ultimates, but it's reliant on Pace being fed. And while T1 does win this last skirmish, he's now up 4 kills, already has quick blades, and he is rushing to a 3rd item. When it was Ruler, the reason why everyone predicted Gen G, even though we knew in a neutral meta, maybe T1 was the better team, they showed that at Worlds. Gen G had the better read on the Zeri meta. Lehens had the answer to Yuumi, and he was the best Yuumi player in the LCK. But now, Pace trying to solidify himself as the best AD carry here in this best of 5. It starts off well. Faker overextends here and is caught, as it looked like maybe they could turn a pick. But after those ultimates go down, T1 with the re-engage here, and Peanut is way too far forward.
We're seeing every side of Peanut here today, Chronicler.
Yeah, it's really the great team fight into the, probably shouldn't have been there. Wholeheartedly agree. But we're not done. I think we're going to fight for this next Drake as well if T1 want to deny the soul point. And what I do want to note, yes, T1 got Baron, but look at the Baron power play. Look at the gold lead. It has barely moved.
Yeah, there is absolutely no difference as Faker is going to be spotted on this ward. Chovy round to the side as Gen G going to get collapsed upon here by T1. A lot of damage being done to this Drake. Because let's see whether Owner can even that one out. There's the cast. As Faker's just moved in there. The Cyclone's fantastic. The Drake down to 1 health, and Peanut, as an afterthought, picks up soul point. As Doran is incredible at Gragas.
He's a sniper.
Yeah, Carrier goes over. He looks for the huge play, but instead he's going to find the Death Chamber, and Gen G back in control again.
They knew. They saw the Hextech, I think the wards on the bottom river brush there saw the channel coming through from Carrier, and otherwise that is an insane read from Gen G. Get themselves soul points. Pace picks up another kill, and this first game is delivering on everything we wanted. Now T1 still has, again, the range rather. Rage Blade is done.
They might have the rage as
well. They
well.
might have at this
After
point,
this,
yeah.
the state of this game.
Oh, this is a messy one. And it means that whichever team is able to outfight in these team fights is able to get the crucial pick. It's looking favored.
Slowed down. There is another cast, but it's just going to create space, so they guarantee the outer turret. So Gen G will claim a gold lead, I believe.
Yeah.
After that.
Just slightly, it looks like here, but it's very close. It's just the way these fights are going and how clutch Doran has been at getting these picks. Look at the angle here to grab Faker. Incredible. And the thing is, worst case scenario, Owner kites back there. Owner might actually get caught. Then you take out the enemy jungler, but taking out the Vagar is just way too much damage to lose. And then you can't actually fight without your cage anymore.
He's on vision.
He is on vision, and he comes in here, and he's instantly deleted. Big play attempt here, but it ends up giving over more gold to Gen G.
And do want to highlight right now, if Gen G is able to pick up a soul here, look at their champions, like the value on Ahri, on Wukong, on Rakan, on Xayah of a Cloud Soul is actually crazy. And bold statement, regardless of the outcome of this game, I don't think Doran is going to be allowed to play Gragas again.
No.
I don't know if Peanut gets allowed to play Wukong again either.
We don't let him.
No,
I think we let it go.
I think this is a very, we've had some pretty easy POG votes. We don't actually have them here for the final. But if there was one, for this game, it's pretty cut and dry. You know, I think that if Gen G win, it's going to Doran. And if T1 win, I'm not entirely sure just yet. Faker made some amazing plays early on. I think Owner's positioning was pretty good as well. But if they win, it might be on the back of some pretty crazy turnaround plays and some kiting from Gumayushi, because we haven't actually spoken about this. There is only one player currently in the LCK that I am okay with playing on hit Varus, and it is this man right here. And in the late game, he just does so much damage if he's given the space. So T1, they need to try and make sure that Gumayushi is safe in these fights.
One thing I am worried about is Faker went for Deadman's
you read
Blade.
my mind. As soon as you and I both at the same time, we looked at each other. I'm worried about this too.
Between the Witsend on Guma, which is going to give him a lot of survivability, as I might have to hold that thought. Looking like we are posturing here, but Deadman's Blade, as good as it is, with trying to get in range and being able to actually cage people, I don't know if you need it into the Gen G comp, and it's going to really delay your Rabadon and Void Spike, which means that the point at which you can do like really big damage is going to be severely delayed, and obviously Faker will still have a lot of value with cage into the Gen G comp, but does mean some of the damage might be lacking here.
I just think that, Owner, I really disagree with you, because I don't think you're really trying to close the gap on this Gen G composition. You're trying to zone it a little bit and set up for damage, and you need more damage. Getting the approach on this team to set up cages isn't really the way this comp operates.
Well, that's a hook. As, oh no, Owner's down so incredibly low, finds another fadeaway, but it's onto a clone Peanut. He does end up having to flash, as now Chovy's taking matters into his own hands. Owner still in a bit of trouble. It's another huge cast. Faker's inside his own cage, but that provides safety to the grand entrance. That is going to seal the deal, and it's a double kill for Pace. Is it going to be the triple? There it is. And can he get a quadra in game 1 of the grand final of his first split of the LCK? The answer's no. He'll have to settle with a triple.
8 kills in this game.
He's legendary.
Gen G are going to be able to go and take the Baron here. Doran is just chasing Owner down. He won't overextend here to try to get the kill. It's going to be able to get out with the help of the Cloud Rift here. But Gen G in firm control of this game right now. And you have a gold lead. at this moment in time from this team fight, but you're about to pick up a much larger one with this Baron.
And when you're able to kite back, when you're able to use your range, the T1 comp works, but if that gap is ever closed, you are in serious trouble, and we keep seeing it here. Everything looks okay as this disengage comes through, Peanut is forced to flash out, but Gen G is just unrelenting, and Doran, man.
This guy is playing so well today.
And once the engage comes through and Faker has to try to kite back mid, the follow-up is there from Delight. And every single time we're seeing Delight follow up on Doran's engages.
And Doran is, two people find him. And this is a Doran that you cannot just kill if you find him in a brush.
And not only is Faker not really hitting these event horizons on Chovy, he has Banshee's Veil. He's lost it now for this fight. Peanut does have Cyclone. T1 want to stop this, but I don't think they can.
This is Soul, as they are going to be able to steal it away. They deny the Soul. Owner, he will die, but it's a fair bit of time bought, especially with Elder on the horizon. Still, Gen G with Baron and with a lot of control.
The power of the Varus and the Smite here from the Sejuani. This time it's already just going in straight up for a
Varus
kill.
is starting to get a little bit too notorious.
Yeah, I mean, how many of these best of fives do we have to watch this guy set up for steals?
Oh, Peanut. He's certainly been put in a cage many, many times here this game. Not this time.
Yeah, and do want to highlight T1 buying time. I think still extremely valuable here as they...
Oh dear, Chovy looks for the charm, doesn't get it. It's non-committal, but he won't have his ult for the next little while.
And I mean, they're still getting multiple turrets from this. They're zoning him away. His wave clear is so important, Chovy, or rather Faker's, is to actually stop these pushes.
With all of these opportunities, with the fact that Owner was dead for so long, Gen G were able to take down a couple of inner turrets, and now that gold lead, I mean, the highest gold lead we had for what felt like the first 25 minutes of the game was 1.3k. That's not very high at all, and now this is the first time that it's actually been a real advantage, as we'll see Owner being able to heroically steal away the Drake to buy them some precious time.
Duma always on the edge with those Varus arrows too, making it easier.
Really big as well is Keria getting the hook there, because if Doran is able to try and interrupt Owner and they get soul points, Gen G is going to be in an even more commanding lead. Still, they have a teamfight comp and they're taking control of the map, and even though the T1 comp, as mentioned, might have some opportunities when it comes to singling out targets, trying to hunt the zero individual people. Once you start losing control of the map against a comp with as much hard engage and team fighting power as Gen G, it becomes so difficult to actually get fights on your terms. And if you don't get those as T1 at this point, you're really going to be struggling.
See whether they go for a dive attempt, as we have only 15 seconds left on this Baron. They're still done the most damage in the game. Mentioned, Charm is going to connect, but Owner is still going to be able to make it out. Still, All Perception does a lot of work. And Frost Armor doesn't do too much against the true damage.
And going back to Faker, he's so far away from a death cap. He's going Void Staff now, so he's really just not going to hit that spike this game. It's just not going to happen. And you're going up against so much armor here. The poke from Zeus is just irrelevant.
Chains of Corruption, they are just going to stun him for as long as possible. Doran was tanking forever. This is like mostly damage on the Gragas. And still with the fully stacked Rod of Ages, as well as the extra armor from the Zhonya's, he's, I guess, going to be K.
Look at Peanut. He's got the Chain Vest as well. Your Banshee's Veil here on Chovy. You're just deflecting so much of this damage.
How is Shadow Flame Gragas tanking that much?
I don't get it at all.
W, he presses
Level
W.
18, maybe? I don't know. Well, in goes Chovy, finds another charm, this time onto his ex-teammate Keria, and Pays will get another kill. It's his 9th of the game, as Peanut is going to take matters into his own hands. Gumayushi, he goes golden. It buys some time, but the Featherstorm is there, and it's a double. 4 Pays on the bottom side for Gen G. They'll take down the last remaining inner turret, and now it looks like they're going to go spend their wads of cash.
This is his first finals game ever. He's 10-0.
10-0, has a scimitar. He's full build.
This is not how I was expecting this series to go.
Well, look, it's still game one, but I think Gen G really showcased that they know how to use this composition brilliantly, and unfortunately the Veigar pick here, uncharacteristically from Faker, is just not hitting. And once Doran is this fed and can walk into a turret, tank turrets up, and just push deep and not really care about a Jace, not care about a Veigar, and look for the engages he wants when you've got a Wukong on top of that, Ahri can look for charms. There's just too many threats for T1 to deal with, and as you said, Chronicler, without map control here, T1 are just shooting with like pea shooters into all of this armor, and there's just never really an angle for anybody to get into the back line. For Faker to set up a cage that's going to lead to a team fight win, you're just losing slowly.
And another big thing, and how that fight and many fight has started out as well, is that Chovy, who often goes for an early Banshee's Veil, uses it as an aggressive item, right? Like when it comes to damage, obviously, it's suboptimal, but with how aggressively he fishes for charms and fishes for plays, the Banshees actually allows him space, and it's one of those things that we often talk about hypothetically, and then they don't actually use it. But that's the reason why I think Chovy's Ahri is, well, this game, you know, it's not in the bag yet, but they do have a 6k gold lead, and
I think
his impact has been, has been undeniable. Hey, I've seen crazier comebacks, okay? Think back to Game 5, KT versus T1.
And the main thing about this game being important is, maybe going to be interrupted here. As Owner once again wanting to deny yet another soul point and collect one of his own.
Will be big.
We'll see. Some posturing now as the Drake is going to spawn right this second. Just going to take some time. Peanut and Pays do so much damage. It's 6 items on this 10-0 Zaya. And there it is. It's gone. They get a ward in. And they get the bad news immediately.
And Baron spawn, but they can't try to trade objectives here because Genji split them and actually were able to keep mid control and prevent T1 from going over. Now you can start this, but can you finish it?
Well, this is a Hail Mary, and T1, I think, know that they are certainly circling the drain, so you may as well go for one. Shock Blast connecting, Charm does not. His carrier's in trouble, they find themselves, the Baron is stolen by Peanut. That could be the last nail in the coffin. His Pace, not free hitting right now, but finds the Gale Force, collects his double kill. Gumayusi knocked up, prepared on a silver platter for the AD carry of Genji. Make it 13, shall we? As he picks up the triple, and Faker running for the hills right now, but Peanut, I think, may just stop him, as there it is. And Genji, they will take game number 1. I hazard to guess after that play.
Surely they can push for end here.
I think so.
Teleport
13-0-2!
And look, the story of this game, I think, is in somewhat, because of the hype of Pays potentially being a Royal Roader here, about his 13-0 scoreline. Well, I think a majority of this game was set up by Doran, and the two of them have worked so well together with Delight to lead to a 6-20 kill score here in this game.
And who were the 3 players that we were most concerned about? We were most concerned about Doran. He's 1-0-10. I'm going to hold that thought for a moment. Pays is going to get another kill. The Charm connects at the same time. Peanut grabs that one, and the Nexus will fall. Genji, they take game number 1 in the grand final. And to quote Obi-Wan Kenobi, we hear the sound of predictors around the world cry out in terror and be suddenly silenced.
And T1, a team, this roster with so much experience, would not be surprising. But what this does mean is this is not the best of 3, or best of 5 rather, that we were expecting today.
Yes.
If even a 3-1 predictor like me, I was expecting Genji get 1 game, maybe T1 make a mistake, they fudge up a draft. That doesn't happen. Instead, what we get is an extremely dominant and confident game from a Genji that get their comfort and then show why they shouldn't be allowed to have
And like game 1 yesterday with KT Rolster, they win it on red side when T1 actually has the pick of side selection for game 1. So Genji can now turn this series into their favor in terms of side selection if it does go to 5. And man, it is a great start here. Doran looking like he might have been a little bit emotional there after this first game. I gotta say, he popped off from that kill at level 1. He got the momentum, and he was playing his best game. And when Doran is on, he is on in every single cast. I mean, Owner just wasn't allowed to play.
He damaged a Jace.
He almost outdamaged the Zaya.
Yeah.
That had 1 million kills.
That's Shadow Flame Gragas for you, ladies and gentlemen. Doran, absolutely amazing performance. One thing I do want to say, and we were getting pretty hyped about Genji in this one. You mentioned it right at the end of your little monologue there, Chronicler, and that was the fact that Genji were on absolute comfort. For every single one of these players, I think that there is no more iconic champion in this current meta for them that has the highest power level. And so I think T1 losing here, it just means that they can't give them their best possible composition going into game number 2. We'll have to see how this draft is going to evolve and whether we're going to see T1 take a different side. It is now time for a short break. Then we'll have the space break down that game number 1.
먹었어. 배가. 야 제이스 봐줄 사람 있어? 제이스. 바루스. 여기 바루스 맞아.
탑으로 갈래? 탑라인 어때? 탑라인 해줘. 탑라인. 미드 끊겼어.
내가 베이가 텔 끊을게.
탑라인
내려가봐.
내가 집 갔다 텔 탈게. 내가 노플.
내가 끊어볼게.
세주랑 1대1 중.
잡았어. 끝났어.
나이스. 너무 잘했다.
한준씨 뭐예요?
돌아왔어.
여러분 안녕하세요. T1의 임년입니다. 2023 LCK 스프링 시즌 우리 T1이 정규 시즌에서 17승 1패만을 하면서 1위로 결승전에 진출했습니다. 와 축하합니다. 네, 결승전이 치러지는 서울 잠실 종합운동장에서 T1을 응원하는 응원 소리가 크게 울려 퍼질 거라고 생각하는데 많은 팬들의 응원 소리가 우리 T1 선수들에게 전달이 된다면 T1 선수들 더 멋진 모습으로 트로피를 향해 나아갈 거라 저는 믿어 의심치 않습니다. 우리 선수들 긴장하지 마시고 평소 연습하던 그 모습 그대로 경기를 치른다면 후회 없는 결과 얻으실 거라 저는 믿습니다. V11 T1의 11번째 LCK 트로피를 위해서 우리 모두 T1을 응원하겠습니다. T1 화이팅! 제5배국회 화이팅!
안녕하세요. 브리온 단장 박정석의 친구 우주대사 김희철입니다. 네, 저 역시 SK T1 너무 좋아하는데요. 이번 스프링 시즌을 우리 T1이 17승 1패라는 굉장히 좋은 기록으로 마무리를 했잖아요. 와, 정말 축하드리고 한편으로 부럽기도 하네요. 이번 남은 경기 우리 결승전에서도 멋진 모습 보여주길 바랍니다. 언제나 응원해요. 우리 T1 화이팅!
안녕하세요, 마미손입니다. T1 이번 스프링 시즌 1위와 MSI 진출 확정을 축하드립니다. 와, T1 팬으로서 어느 팀과 붙으시던지 꼭 승리하시길 바라겠습니다. T1 화이팅! 와!
and welcome back to the Jamsil Indoor Arena space. I am Valdez, with me is Ox and Hooney, and that was game number one that perhaps a lot of our fans were not expecting, but Gen G came in and they clapped them so hard in that first game. It was so extremely one-sided in my mind. What did you guys think?
Yeah, honestly, I mean, starting off with the draft, I felt like the Jace and the Veigar, made a lot of sense. Like the Veigar into a short-range composition that Gen G had, pretty good. And the Jace as well outranges a lot of things, and we've seen how good Zeus can be on it. But I think there were some concerns about the cannon.
Yeah, I mean, I personally didn't really like the cannon, but if I really have to assume like why they banned it, like I think they could open like OIP the top champion, which is like the cannon, and then like they could also do a yawn like from the Chubby. Like I think that's probably my guess. But the thing is, like, you know, I think that from the draft, I don't think there was any problem from T1.
Yeah, I think maybe like if they had banned the Gragas instead, it could have gone better. But I think objectively, the draft is fine. It wasn't a draft issue, it was definitely a gameplay issue.
Yeah, started off that way, and the side of Gen G, you know, it seemed pretty stock standard, right? You're kind of drafting some more engaged, but at least their comp has an identity across the board. And we can jump straight into Highlight 1 because we got to talk about what Doran was able to do on the top side. Started out with T1 not able to convert on this game.
Yeah, and with the Jace, if you can get momentum for the Jace for Zeus, it's fantastic. That's what the play plan was here. They went top at about 3.5 minutes, but a little bit of a miscalculation here from Zeus. He ends up going down, and it didn't get much better from here.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have to know, like, this is like the blue side, the first pick, which is like the reason why they get the blue side. Like, it's also like there's a thing is like the strength, like 2-3, like you can pick together, like something like that. But the thing is, like, this draft, they first pick Jace, and it's Gen G actually planned to take down like Zeus of the first pick blue side. So it's already from the pick and bat, like they couldn't really take any like bigger impact and the bigger the advantage like from the T1.
Yeah, and the thing is with a champion like Jace, you're a lethality champion, you want to be ahead of the curve, you want to have a gold lead, particularly when you have a lot of favorable lane matchups. But he just never really found footing in this game, constantly punished, and it meant that you didn't have this strong poke threat in your composition.
Yeah, and to me, it feels like immediately this is a huge issue for T1 because Zeus has been struggling a bit in playoffs. We've already seen it. And now in game one, they give him first pick Jace, and this is what happens, right? This is not what you would expect. Gen G immediately had an answer. Doran's like, well, I'll just play my best comfort champion of Gragas and be able to sustain through some of those ganks. We can take out the second highlight as well, which was this team fight on the Drake, of course. And again, Gen G and especially Doran able to set up some incredible stuff.
And I think what's fantastic is the amount of engaged tools that Gen G has. If you're against a longer range composition with something like a Veigar, having multiple tools, multiple people to set it up is so important. But Doran, he was the one making the big plays in this game.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, from Gen G, like, Peanut started, like, kind of poor. Like, he had to burn the ulti, but the thing is that Doran just, he changed the whole sequence of the Drake. Like, I don't think that Gen G was actually the favor as the positioning-wise, it was fine. But the thing is, like, he find the way that he can actually isolate the one person and then just, like, focus on one pretty easily and starting to fight a 4v5 completely. That was insane.
And I think once one person finds that engage, you have the follow-up. This is why Rakan's been so popular recently, because if Wukong or Gragas or Ahri gets that initial bit of CC, the Rakan can easily use the mobility to follow and layer that and get the kill.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The second the momentum started, you've got the follow-up from the Rakan. You have the Ahri right there. And the Xayah able to get in position at least to do incredible amounts of damage. And we did have a Zeus death reel. We didn't get a Doran highlight reel, but a lot of our highlights did kind of just look like him setting up incredible plays. And once that momentum got going, it was pretty crazy. And we can take a look at the final one as well, this final fight in the mid lane. Gen G able to once again set up an incredible position for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, Gen G was be able to find the, like, just target selections, like, who they need to go in. Like, but the thing is, like, it's the same thing. Like, Doran just find a way that he can actually engage the people, and then, like, after when they burn, when they don't have a flash, the Rakan to find a way that he can actually be in the final positions that actually just finish the team fight, basically.
And again, like, Peanut was chunked out at the start of this play, wasn't necessarily going to be the one who could engage. If your only engage was the Wukong, you'd be struggling. But Doran comes in, Delight's there as well. I mean, there were concerns for Gen G going up against a team like T1, but they have started so well in this series.
Yeah, all of the 3-0 Predators immediately thrown out the window.
Like you!
Thrown off the balcony, me included, alongside of a bunch of other of us, because Yeah, I mean, T1 on paper, maybe you would expect them to be the better team, but Gen G came out and they're like, we're not talking about paper anymore. We're talking about the form on the day, and that's one of the things I mentioned in our pre-show because, you know, T1, you look at Zays, look at Korea, not really at their top form right now. Gen G, they have come out with a bang here in the beginning of this best of 5. It's going to be difficult for T1, I think, to come back from that.
I mean, honestly, even if you're a 3-1 predictor, I'm feeling a bit nervous after that one. Gen G, really in great form. And as much as Doran was the highlight, Pays and Delight both had fantastic games in that one.
I mean, if I have to say something good thing for T1, Gen G didn't start really good yesterday, especially the first game. And I think I'll say there's an advantage for Gen G that because they played yesterday here, and this is like their already 5th game in here, but T1 is the first game. So that means like we got to see the next one.
Yeah, that's exactly what Atlas was talking about at the top of his show as well. It's like you get comfortable in arena, you just feeling yourself, you get a big win in a best of 5, you just dunked on KT, who a lot of people were saying they were supposed to beat you, so how's that going? We can take a look at the side selection here as T1 have selected blue to the surprise of no one. Ox?
Yeah, I think you can tweak things definitely in the draft, but we said we didn't think draft was the major issue, and blue side is still something they're favoring, so they can get the first choice on those power picks.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I think that might change the plan of the first pick because of this was like actually the game 1 was almost the first time Zay was playing actually like aggressive pick, and he actually failed. I mean, we've seen multiple times he blind picked Nar and then he failed like sometimes, but the thing is that this is actually the first time he failed. He messed up with the Jay's pick rather, and that's kind of critical. And I think there's gonna be change from the pick and ban.
And also we saw yesterday, KT took Jace, Gen G took Jace in game 1, and then KT beat them and then lost 3-1. So maybe T1 try to copy that.
Maybe. You know, it is one game. This is why we do play a best of 5, and I surely hope that T1 come back and show their top form. But again, that's why a lot of us are like, ooh, I don't know. Maybe it's going to be a quick series in favor of Gen G because they certainly didn't show any of that in game number 1. Like, there was a lot of comfort in the draft. They had the Veigar in mid. They had the Varus for Gumayusi. A lot of things that have been working for them, but certainly as a team, they did not execute on that very well in game 1.
Yeah, I think the thing to take into account is that regular season T1 was super clean. You know, that one loss against Honma Life was a mar on their record. But playoffs has been a different beast, right? The KT series was definitely a lot of back and forth, and I think individual members like Zeus haven't been at 100% over playoffs. So, you know, I wouldn't be too doom and gloom without them dropping a game, but this is definitely not a team who are as clean as we saw in the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, especially I think about this meta, I think it's actually like whoever make more mistake, whoever make more critical mistake, I think that's like actually matters more than actually making creative to play, or like I think that's why I'm keeping the highlight the consistency like needed, like especially BO5, and then when it's like arrived to the playoff, like that's what all you needed. And I think the game 1, I think the Gen G was actually a little bit above level of the T1.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting to see what we get in Game 2 for sure. We don't have POGs for the final, for the grand final. I think for me, it's pretty obviously Doran. The guy, he could have had his own highlight reel if we had put it up there. We got a bunch of his highlights in just the Gen G highlights because so many of his casts were insane. And T1, they need an answer. This did not look good for them. We'll see if they do have an answer as we'll throw it back to the casters for game number 2.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Absolutely fantastic breakdown of that game number 1. And now, the test has been passed by KT yesterday. The Destroy the Jace test was passed. First pick Jace didn't work. Today, Gen G also going to pass the same test. But can they actually win the series? Gen G make their way out after their victorious game number 1. At the helm, Doran, who if we had POG, would have been POG unanimously by everyone. Except those couple of voters for Pays. I think that might happen, but I think we know that it's all about that man in the top lane.
Yeah, we were even saying during the game, as good as Pays played, and he does deserve the recognition for being as stable as he was, which was a really big issue throughout the split, and particularly against T1, but it was all about the top side, right? Particularly the solo laners, Doran playing insanely well, and Chovy kind of playing second fiddle because Doran was so good, but still getting a number of crucial setups, playing his RA to the utmost level, and Chovy has been on a tear, and if they don't find a way to shut him down, T1 does with the mid-jungle, I think they're going to keep running into this issue because his impact around the map and his proactivity is, I think, the best we've ever seen from him.
Yeah, and the opening video we had, it's the same as our opening for this season with Deft and Faker, is Deft's quote, "The most important thing is an unbreakable spirit," and for Doran, I think he's proven in the series yesterday and now at least in game 1 here that he is ready. He's got the momentum on his favor, and Zeus has been known in these critical best of 5s to slip up a little bit. You go back to the MSI finals, you go back to Worlds finals, a heavily criticized player there, but massively the favorite going into the series, #1 in top all-pro here for LCK. And as we go into game number 2, we'll see if that Jace priority is the same, because in this first game, it did not work out.
It didn't. Here we are in pick and ban for game number 2. T1 down 1 game, but sticking to the blue side once again as the bans, they remain exactly the same as we saw in game number 1. Cassante would come in and Elise to round it out, and then that notorious first pick Jace would be the next option, but no, the change-up will be the Rakan ban here for T1.
And who would have thought? Who would have thought that Rakan would be banned against Delight in an LCK finals after 2 years of Frederick Rion for Delight? Now in a grand finals for the first time, has an incredible performance here in this first game, and T1 respect
I love
him.
that.
Do love this for 2 reasons. One, we know that Faker himself can play the Cassante mid, so it is a flex pick. It doesn't give anything away in draft, and it also takes it away from Gen G. So starts off good here. I think the main thing that we want to see from T1 is adaptation. Not only in getting a great draft of their own, because I do think they had a lot of comfort in the previous game, but more importantly, denying it from Gen G. And yes, the Zyra Khan won't be given over, but yesterday we saw KT try to deal with this Aphelios a bunch of times. Is it Kate Lux?
Oh man,
Into
okay.
the Aphelios.
How many times has Gumi Ishikaria lost on Caitlyn Lux, gentlemen?
I mean, Caitlyn Lux is a pick that, or a duo that has given them so much success, and Karius Lux, in my mind, has been his most standout pick outside of the AD picks that he had at the beginning of the season. His Lux has been phenomenal. Some of his best games this season were on this pick, so even out of the 2v2 lane, it's a high-impact player here. Gen G going to leave the support pick and prioritize the Ahri once again for Chovy, so now picks like that Aphelios are likely to be removed, or rather, the Thresh for the Aphelios to be removed.
Also, you basically have to ban Lissandra here for very obvious reasons.
Yep.
Faker is exceptional at it, and it is the best pick into Ahri. But if T1 can't figure out something that can actually deal with this Ahri, I think Gen G might try to do what they did yesterday, where through Chovy being impactful in mid lane, the bot lane, even though the matchup in the 2v2 is very rough, can still salvage. And if they can salvage, and they can get to a mid game where they team fight, we've already seen they are good enough to match up against T1.
I think the Thresh ban here is just so obvious because it's so empowering for Ahri as well, because she can, with Banshee's Veil, she's already somewhat safe to dive deep in fish like Chovy has done. And they're going to ban the Malphite here. You know, with the Cassante picked early, you're not as worried about this pick. But the Thresh is just so easy. If you want to make sure that your Ahri could dive deep and the Aphelios is going to be safe in a lot of these scenarios. But it looks like rather than that, they want more hard engage here, and they'll lock in the Nautilus.
Yeah, Nautilus going to come in. I'd actually already started penciling in the Thresh because Delight was so good at it yesterday in that final game. The Viego going to be picked up by Ona, one of his signature champions there in the jungle. And there is the flex of the Cassante towards that mid lane. We'll see whether Faker can utilize this pick to nullify the Ahri in mid, as Cannon going to come through for Zeus. And this is his namesake as well, right?
It really is. Yeah, the Lightning champions, Jace and Cannon. Jace didn't quite work out. The Cannon coming through blind here. What is Doran going to pick? And it is, to me, okay, well, you know what?
Yeah.
Why not?
It's a decent matchup into the Cannon. Like, if it ain't broke.
It's so remarkable to me that Gen G are also recognizing how well Doran is playing by changing the priority that he's been getting in these drafts, right? He is actually the one that is getting counterpicked now. Now, it's just 2 games of Gragas, which I'm sure he's going to be very happy with. You were looking at the Cannon.
Yeah, I was like, Cannon support, Lux mid, Cassante top? Like, what's happening here?
Well, what's really interesting to me about how Gen G played that last draft, it was the Sejuani that they constantly were able to set up picks onto. Faker caught a few times as well on the Veigar, but Cassante is the only frontline T1 really have in this draft. Viego himself can be somewhat of a frontline, but isn't very tanky. And you've got a support who, if you lose control over the map as carrier with this Lux, your ability to actually get vision on the map is so difficult, it's so dangerous, you're always going to be under threat. And we've kind of swapped sides here in a lot of ways about how T1 want to fight, because they need the hard engage to come through. They need the cannon and the Viego to set up with this Cassante. But as you approach, Doran can remove that Cassante, pull him away from the rest of the team. You get that pick, and T1's composition falls apart.
It's going to come down to the bot lane matchup, because Varus, I know, looks strong, but not necessarily a lane that was the hard stomp lane. With Caitlyn Lux, they have got to put down pace. They have got to put down Delight, make sure that Peanut doesn't find an early angle, that they don't get put on the back foot, because if a Caitlyn lane isn't able to snowball into, again, another hard team fight composition from Gen G, we might see a repeat of game number 1.
We could, however, this is T1 wielding the Caitlyn Lux, and you know what? I haven't seen a game where they've lost with this particular duo. That is because they haven't ever lost with this duo. It has not been figured out, that possibility. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen, onto the rift here. Wow, that was deafening. Genji fans definitely very happy about the fact that they managed to take a game number 1. And Genji fans, it's been a while since things have gone well in spring finals.
Yeah,
it's been 3 in a row that they've been runners-up.
Oh, it's 4-0 the Caitlyn Lux this season to put the raw numbers on the table here for Guma Korea. They have been by far the most dominant 2v2 lane in the LCK. You could say what you want about Guma's team fighting, as he is vulnerable.
Oh dear, there's the flash over from Delight. The charm is going to land as well immediately. He's flashing away, his pace is flashing for it, but the Lucent Singularity, it's going to be enough to save Gumayushi's life, but not his flash. Pays had to use his.
And even though the trade in Summoners is down, which is unfortunate for, possible punish here.
All right, let's see how much damage.
Fake.
He just clicks the blast cone. Yeah. That means that Faker might be able to zone.
Yeah, 100%. Chovy can't walk up. But as I was saying, the big thing is Guma can't back. And Caitlyn Lux starting off on the back foot is really big, but Chovy pays for it heavily. Not only does he lose his flash, but also the Faker doing a really good job of zoning him out. He will be very far behind on experience here on the first few waves.
Yeah, lost 1 minion of experience, but those melee creeps, that's a lot more. So definitely very high value.
And the Aphelios here isn't helpless in this lane at level 1, has Calibrum, and can kind of trade back some of this damage if he can avoid the Singularity here, as he already has. And Pace is actually going to be able to get through these first few minion waves here a lot easier because of that initial trade. So while it wasn't a kill, not completely worthless, as you were saying, Chronicler. And yeah, 11-0 on this pick here, career across the LCK, is one of his most famous.
Yep, and Carrier alongside him on this Lux almost every single time as well. So incredible performances for this particular duo for T1. We'll see whether it's going to be enough to claw them back into this series, as this win rate also relatively high, as there's a reason why we saw the Cassante banned away and first picked here in game 1 and then here in game 2 respectively.
Yeah, a lot of prio on this. Now what's really interesting about this matchup is that Chovy was the one who pioneered the mid Cassante and has beaten Ahri in lane in particular in this very matchup many times. Now he'll be on the other side of the coin here playing the Ahri into the Cassante and already on the back foot because of that early level 1. We'll see how he does outside of these first few levels.
Also cool adaptation here from Faker, going for the Aftershocks as opposed to Grass. We've seen a lot of mid Cassante still go Grass, but into the Ahri, if they space well, which with Chovy you're going to expect, actually getting Grass procs will be fairly negligible, so not going to be the case here. And Delight might be looking for something with Owner's mist showing. I don't think they're going to go for anything, but what's big here is...
Oh, Peanut. Not going to be able to steal that one away. As he gets into position, Ward goes down. Not actually scried or anything like that. Let's see whether Peanut can find himself an angle He was looking for that counter gank opportunity.
Hard to pre-6, especially with this Reg missing, and this means he might get double scuttle.
Life Binding comes in immediately. The cleanse has to be used. The trap was down. Definitely a great reason to use that summoner spell immediately, but now Pays in a very rough spot, and Gumayusi Carrier bearing down on them.
And this is with Guma losing a flash and half his health bar. Level 1. Like, he was sipping potions, but still he wasn't sitting on a whole lot of health. And once you get to 6, the matchup really changes because you have so much more all-in potential. With particularly if Nautilus has flash, you can layer the ultimates. You have a lot of damage there, but you need to get there. And really well done by Guma and Carrot to regain control of this lane. And for Pays in the Light, even in a scenario as good as that one, actually getting an advantage, still not going to be able to, but if they can get to 6 while dropping minimal waves and dropping minimal plates, would still be a win for them.
Now, Doran has been having a really tough time in this top matchup as well. He's nearly 20 CS behind, out of mana here, and he's stopped on his back, so he's going to have to stay here because he doesn't want to miss these minions, but it's very difficult for him to CS them. And Owner, like I was mentioning, very likely to get double scuttle because of this attempt here from Peanut pre-6 bottom side. He has total map control here because of this top prio for Zeus, who's not reliant on a mana bar. He's a ranged matchup here into Doran, so Doran has to teleport early, and Zeus is just sitting pretty here on the top side of the map with the Doran's ring, or Doran's blade rather. And so T1 with some really nice early game advantages here at 5 minutes, already stacking a 700 gold lead.
Yeah, absolutely amazing stuff here for T1 thus far in the early game. We'll see whether Gen.G have any surprises for us or whether this is just going to be, once again, business as usual for T1. They can play out games so well with these early leads. We've seen it so many times. And 100% win rate for this man's cannon on the top side of the map. There's a reason why his name looks like Zeus. Gentlemen?
He's also got early Sork shoes here. Decides he does want to back. Just enough money to buy them here early. And in an early game against Agragas, those resistances will mean a lot less when you actually have this early buy.
The Light relatively far, but also do note Pays also going for boots first. Generally we don't see that, but into Cade Lux. Gonna use the movement speed as Guma.
Oh dear, Delight. He's just going to flash on him. Finds the hook there as well. Flash out immediately as Pays. Not going to find too much of the damage. Once again, Gumayusi limps away, but he gets the cannon.
Yeah, nigh unkillable here on the bottom side of the map. This guy is now...
He gets the cannon.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's what matters.
I saw that and it sort of took over my brain for a moment there. We're pretty cannon focused here in the LCK. You'll have to bear with me.
Oh. And do note, that's Guma's flash gone on cooldown, and now the 6 for Pays the Light and Peanut. Very scary. Owner knows this, though. He's going to clear the ward, and if they can get a kill on Pays, it would be huge.
Yeah, Peanut getting into position as well. So a 3v3 here on this bottom side. No flash on Gumayusi, though, and Pays has his back available. That is the big difference maker in this situation. And stopping Gumayusi and Carrier from being able to take plates is the biggest thing. They've already managed to take one, as now Peanut getting aggressed on by Owner. There's the Conqueror proc as well. So he'll have to use that Blast Cone to get himself out of dodge. Wukong not able to fight against this Viego early on.
Yeah, didn't have Warrior's Trickster and just had to take the damage there to get away, losing all of his health. And this means that T1, with the prio they already have in bottom side, despite 2 attempts on Guma's life here, they're going to be able to take the first break. Faker also holding that mid prio, and these small exchanges, these small attempts from Gen.G, failing repeatedly, starting to stack up in the gold. The double scuttle, the top side prio, no assistance from Peanut in the top side because you don't have prio top, you don't have prio bottom. He has to be bottom side to keep his lane alive so he can stay relevant. They're still down 10 CS. You're down 30 CS on the top side of the map. Drake goes over, double scuttle, and just like that, 2,000 gold lead here, nearly 2,000, or sorry, 1,500, nearly 2,000 gold lead here for T1.
And what's really big is I think T1 playing it out a lot more calmly than in game number 1, where right, like they went for the early dive, they went in with these really big aggressive plays when they didn't necessarily need to. As he's hidden.
Yeah, level 7 is Doran going to find himself the Lightning Mouse, but Chobi, he's going to move in. Means man advantage here towards his top side as T1 a little bit late on the rotation. We'll see whether Gen.G can lock this one down before everyone turns up. And it looks like the answer is yes. Shelly gets her eye poked multiple times. The eye, though, collecting it going to be a difficulty as Chobi going to try and get himself out. Ace in the hole comes through. That is first blood. Going to the Viego. Was it worth it is the question. As Zeus is going to go down as well. Peanut flashes to safety, but Owner is going to pick him off. Carrier awarded with the kill. A 2-for-1 in the end, but Herald goes to Gen G. So I guess the exchange is somewhat even, but it doesn't feel like it here as T1 in so much control this game.
Yeah, that's probably not going to be worth it. If Chovy gets out there, I think you're not going to feel too bad about it, but that's not the case. Kill going over to Owner as...
Doran? Okay, well, Owner is taking a lot of damage here. There's the cast. Owner doesn't have any mist remaining. And there's the boop with the barrel. As solo kill as Delight is in trouble as well, Gumayushi. He's not to be messed with here.
Okay, I'm sorry, Doran. I'm sorry. I won't doubt you anymore.
Yeah, no, never again.
We know. Yeah, we get it. When you go in and Gragas, he'll get it done.
Congratulations to Peanut.
1,500 kills here. Now, feels like a consolation prize here in a series in a game state where you're not ahead. But if we go back to this skirmish here, where you have, as T1 here, so much teamfight power in this cannon early, who's holding Flash. And while the Herald is secured here, getting the eye is a completely different story. Chovy picks it up, but look at how much power you have with the Viego and the cannon ult setup. And yeah, kills going over here for Gen G, but Peanut loses both his life and Flash, and subsequently map control.
You also see like the perfect lineup there, right? With the cannon ult being right as big as Doran. Yeah, he just
also got the drugs. And now he's out of mana, but he gets a blue buff? What?
Small victory here, but still, you'll take it. You're 30 CS down. You have been for a while, and that is some extra gold. It's going to push you to your catalyst at least. It's going to make you a little bit, better in this laning phase, but you're just getting pushed in non-stop. And Zeus, it looks like he took game one personally with how much control he's put into this one. And Doran, can he survive this lane? Yes. Will he make the same impact he made in game one? With the gold state he's in, very unlikely. But Gragas will still do Gragas things later on in the game. I think now a lot more responsibility on Peanut and Chovy.
And as I was mentioning before the Herald fight, what I like from T1 is that they kind of have calmed down after what was a very eventful early game in game number one, and having trust in their laning, because their laning has been one of the big reasons why they've been so hard to crack in the LCK. And, AD carry supports might not be quite at the same level as they were before, but Caitlyn Lux, effectively the same thing, and we see immediately how much more comfortable they slot into the role that they have.
Whoa, that's a flash forward from Carrier, looking for that light binding, gets the flash out of Doran, and more plates for Gumayushi. They're trying to trade them as Crescendum is there for Pays, but the rest of T1 are going to turn up. Chovy trying to even it out here for Gen G by picking up plates in mid, and they want them on the Aphelios.
Say what you will about Doran's performances on a lot of different picks, but when he's on the Gragas, even down on CS, he's going to be the one who absorbs the pressure.
Hook is going to connect here as they knock up Owner. He's in the bouncy castle forever. The Heartseeker's not enough.
And on three places on the map, they're winning out. Yeah, Doran is losing some plates here, but he's going to be able to keep this turret alive. They're getting plates topside. Chovy got plates mid. They get a kill. Jungler's removed. And Gen G still behind in gold here, but they are really turning this one around.
And what's really big here is there's no Crescendum anymore, because otherwise they might just get first turbo right off that Zeus.
Well, Moonlight Vigil comes down. Zeus looking for even more. Grabbing him. Not going to be snaring Zeus just yet, but with Delight lurking, that is more plates going over to Gen G and to Pays in particular.
They might still get that first turret blood regardless here. Zeus is just zoned out.
This is not the Gen G we were expecting here today, as it looks like this turret is not going to fall in its entirety. But still, Gen G getting control back in this game. Of course, by no means is this one over for T1, as Faker is going to be slowed down. The mid-game is still going to be powerful, but that Caitlyn issue that we've talked about so many times, she still does have that trough. She still relies on snowballing the game. And yes, they've got a bunch of plates into Gumayushi. He has his Gale Force available, an item lead over Pays. Doran is going to be able to take control of this dragon.
Faker's backing and they know it.
TP's there for Zeus,
but not unleashed.
All right, that first teleport. This dragon going down very, very low as Chovy finds the charm. It is onto the jungler. They secure the Drake because of it. Warrior Trickster going to be used as... Oh, Peanut! Just outplaying here, but he is still going to be moved back by the Q. Has to flash to get himself out as Faker's still looking for even more. And Doran, with that barrel in position, they are going to be able to complete the heist.
Heist successful. Chovy hits the crucial charm. Owner
this
steals
ward.
those. Oh, they know.
That is so much value. The light binding comes in. Peanut going to get out as... Oh! Okay, there it is, the final spark. Oh, what the heck, Peanut? That was so silly. As now Zeus should be able to punish Delight, but he flashes. Pace flush down the kill, and a flash comes out as well. As now Chobi, he's looking for the charm. He does find it, but it's not enough to save Pace, but still, Zeus is going to go down.
What am I watching? A series of outplays here going over from Gen G, but this just stems the bleeding because at the end of the day, T1 still with the gold lead here. They are going to pick up first turret blood, but it could have been a lot worse.
If they don't get that first turret blood, it actually would have been a bit of a disaster. That made sure that they're still ahead in gold, but the skirmishes are going Gen G's way, and that's something that I think if you're a T1 fan is going to worry you, because Gen G's team fighting composition again is incredible, and look at that soul. That's a hex deck soul, so every single Drake is going to matter. And man, Delight and Doran, between the first few rounds of playoffs and now could not look more different.
Oh no, definitely not.
The confidence that these players are moving across the map with us. Peanut, sneaking suspicion here.
Doran, so calm too, holds the recall, and will get it off. Peanut sets up the second knock-up here, calling out that he has no flash. And then they re-engage here with Hayes. And yeah, there are casualties here on the side of Gen G, and the turret will go down. But it's a worrying sign for how these fights are going to go later on, because in the early game here, this is not a Fed Aphelios, this is not a Gragas with more items, and Chovy with agency later on. If this continues to go like this, the gold lead won't matter when we get to 30 minutes in this game.
It won't. I do want to shout out Carrier there, who was able to so valiantly land so many of these skill shots in order to keep T1 in that situation. It was really well played. His Lux, as you mentioned, Wolf, is absolutely amazing, but he's going to have to be at peak form in order to make sure that this one works out. Another worrying sign is the fact that Gumayusi has none of these kills. Extra money on Caitlyn can be so valuable, but he's going to have to find some in this mid-game if he can. Still, T1 with an advantage. Doran going to try and even that out.
And it all comes down to, can T1 find individual picks? In the game number one, that wasn't really the case, but I think that this time, because they do still have a lead, when it comes to gold, they should be able to hold on to map control for a lot longer. And when it comes to picking up individual champions, yes, Gen G's comp is still strong with Charm and Hook, but T1 can isolate targets with Faker, can have an amazing stun lock situation going on with the Lux, the Caitlyn, and the Viego. And if they're able to find those, or if Zeus can get a big flank, there are still ample of opportunities here, but it's all going to come down to how the team fights go. How is T1 actually going to be able to fight around these dragons? And a lot of it will come down to, can Guma and Carrier consistently find that prio on the Caitlyn that, even though the kills haven't gone her way, is still very fed in this game.
Absolutely, 30 CS in the lead. Outer turret now under fire. If they get another one, that is huge. Oh, the layering of CC is fantastic with Doran. He takes a drink, and he's going to walk it off now.
And Chovy's going to get top turret, it looks like here, as T1 are completely grouped in mid with no objective up. So the lack of success here on that first turret kill attempt really comes back to bite them. And Doran has done such a good job of buying time here, deleting these minion waves. Now Baker will find one on the bottom side here, some additional farm, that is to say, it was taken out earlier. Can they maybe set up a dive here as Doran decides to come back over? There's no vision here in the jungle for Gen G.
Oh, forcing a teleport here. Nicely done by T1.
Well, Carrier is going to be locked into the wall, just barely mispositioning the cast there is Doran. Could have been deadly. Instead, it was not. As Gen G going to hold on to their inner turret for the moment. I like the idea for T1. A lot of money in that inner.
Not only if Gen G mess up and you get the inner, that's big, but it also means that they should be able to get control of the bottom half of the river, shove up the waves. Although we do see now Carrier and Guma still had to back, so they will actually be a little bit late here to the objective. Gives Gen G the opportunity to set up vision, but they are looking for any stragglers. Doesn't seem to be the case, as we know. They obviously doing a thorough check here.
And critically, there's no flash for Zeus. There is flash for Peanut. And these are the two big engaged champions in these compositions, especially for Peanut at range, to look for follow-up here on this Caitlyn. Caitlyn also has flash at this moment in time, but Gen G not only faster on the Drake here, but arguably the better setup here. Doran can still make an impact without his ult, and it's coming up soon.
Yeah, a lot of vision available though with that Rift Scuttler that it was taken by T1. Zeus in flank position, unseen for now. As Gen G, this is dangerous. T1 biding their time for the moment. The line of traps has been set up. Faker doesn't find the Q, but he can fish for another one of those. A little bit of time.
Zeus' flash is coming up. That could be the timing they want to engage with the Maelstrom.
Yeah, Lucent Singularity coming down. A fair bit of poke here available as Faker's just going to move in. Peanut gonna have to use that Cyclone. He secures the Drake as they just bring Doran out, but he goes golden. Zay is now in a little bit of trouble, but Peanut is going to burn down. The Lux collects the kill. Thanks to that one, and now Faker is saying it's cleanup time. Can Pace do anything? The answer is definitely. As wow, Faker almost falls down, but still. Pace going to get locked down by the final spark, and now it's the flanking Lux. The scariest, the most deadly, the life binding from max range. Pace locks down the cannon, but Chovy and Pace is still going to die. Gumayusi grabbing the double.
What a moment here for Pace to at least trade back the kill, but it's once again Gen G getting the objective, but at a high cost, and T1, their gold lead is multiplying at this point, getting kills like this. And the fact that Peanut is able to secure this Drake is really just a 50-50 essentially as Owner is rotating over. Meanwhile, in live, Doran?
Yeah, Doran looking for Gumayusi. These traps are not going to go down, but he respects the teleport. And it looks like Gumayusi will survive for now. Body slam to get Doran out of there. Not even able to get a control ward. Man, give him something.
And when we fast forward to the future, if we could, we know if this ends up being worth it or not for Gen G, because this could be huge in terms of setting up for that Soul Point, potentially a fight they'll take very soon. But at this moment in time, looks to be way better for T1. That could come back to bite them later, but at this moment in time, you're thinking advantage T1.
Crucial, there are two things. One, Pace doesn't actually hit his ultimate. And with that, the Moonlight Vigil, a really big team fighting tool, not available. And secondly, Korea actually gets the kill on Peanut, which is for T1 the sign to keep on going. And there's a reason why Guma and Korea have not been allowed to get this duo. Look at that 100% kill participation between the two of them. And even though the laning phase was somewhat salvaged by Gen G getting an early summoner out of from Guma, when it comes to the team fighting, they're just too clean.
Yeah, they definitely are. And Korea is just so good at Lux. It is crazy. And then Gumayusi always there on the follow-up. Every time those bindings land, the trap is down. Cupcake in position, and someone is on critical health almost immediately afterwards. This duo, fantastic at Siege, but also demonstrated right here beautifully. They are fantastic at locking down single targets, just going for that pick potential. Peanut comes over, clears out some control ward in this Baron pit. And this T1 Baron now up on the table.
Yeah, and this is the amount of control that you really want to have as a Caitlyn Lux in the mid-game. As we're at 21.5 minutes here, T1 have enough control vision-wise here where they can threaten Baron starts. They can safely just push all of these lanes and not be afraid of a wraparound from Chovy or Peanut's flash engage, right? And you have this Lux that's so fragile, we talked about it earlier. Just going to ult for tempo.
Wow!
The ability for a Lux to clear vision from behind is so low, but from ahead she becomes oppressive because not only does she clear vision, but she also can threaten anyone who tries to come in and clear it themselves because there's so much follow-up and so much map control. As you can see here, grouping S5. Chovy's on the side with teleport. So this is what Chovy has been doing this game. He's been top side pretty much this entire time, but T1 are getting more.
Now, see whether these answers are actually going to be there as light binding collected by Delight, but of course, not going to be too worried about it. Has the Titan Wrath shield available. Wave going to crash in this top lane in a turret, so some respite being bought by Gen G for a moment.
Wouldn't be surprised if Zeus actually goes for Death Cap next and just accepts that as long as he can trade with Pace or 4 summoners, he's already winning, right? Because one of the big things here is that I think the Gen G composition, as we get to late, is going to very heavily rely on Pace being able to do damage. And with the map control that T1 has, and Zeus having Sword, Pen Boots, Voids, and his Rocket Belt, he's effectively doing true damage to anyone that doesn't have MR, which Peanut has some on his Mercs, but that's not that impressive. Chovy has a Banshee still, but everyone else is going to get shredded by this cannon. And if Pace doesn't actually get to do damage, Gen G becomes very reliant on finding early picks. With how the map state is right now, doesn't seem very likely. But what is crucial is this up-and-coming fight, because if Gen G get a soul point, it changes so much of the equation, because you cannot risk an Aphelios getting a Hextech soul.
Yeah, it's massive too, because it buys more time for Pace to scale up as well. And this is where that last Drake fight that T1 won the team fight in, but Gen G were able to secure with Peanut. it becomes worth it if you can actually secure this. Your position in the game is much more relevant. If you lose this one and it goes to a 2-2 Drake, T1 are just winning in every other regard. So there's a fight you need to win, but you don't have prio whatsoever. That hasn't changed. And T1 have just given up the top side of the map, let Chovy farm there for free. There's no gold for him to get with an outer turret. That was taken out earlier. So it's at no cost to them to just say, we're putting all the focus on bottom side here. We have Baron Vision. You couldn't do that. Chovy can't make any plays topside. Now we're on this Drake, and you deny this one, you're in such a good position.
Well, Lightbinding not going to find the target as now Gumayusi not going to get snared. Absolutely fantastic play here by Gumayusi defensively on this Caitlyn. And the thing that I want to talk about, guys, is the fact that last game we had him on the poke Varus. Oh, sorry, the on-hit Varus that was just getting picked off left, right, and center. Now he has massive range. He is a late-game monster on this Caitlyn. We're going to see him going up against FaZe very evenly this time. As we're looking for it, but the Drake is just going to be given over. 2 apiece for both of these teams.
And
Korea checks it.
Yeah, you can sense the desperation there from Chovy as well, where he uses his ult. Guma doesn't even have to use Guild Force. Like, he has Guild Force, he has his Flash, right? Doesn't
he just
need
needed
to use
a net.
any of them. That's all he needed. And it showcases Gen G without control. Going to be very reliant on either hard engaging through Doran and the Light, but that wasn't really an option there. And Chovy trying to get something going doesn't work, and the positioning of Guma has been one of the reasons why this Caitlyn, as of right now, is undefeated.
Faker is just constantly following him around in the jungle here. Whenever there's a moment where they don't have vision, they think Peanut or Chovy might be in the similar area. Faker's just making sure, shadowing him, that he's not going to get picked off, so he can just continue to freely farm. And that mobility we talked about he already has. He has Flash still, because he's under no threat. It's just really easy for them to say, okay, now we have 2 Drakes, and if nothing goes wrong here, this game is just on the path to our victory, tying it up 1-1. And they can come over here, clear up some more Baron Vision, and continue to actually now play around topside since the Drake is already taken.
Well, Gen G with full information of what's going on in the Baron. Of course, they have faced T1 many times before, so they know that if it's past 20 minutes, T1 are going to do Baron. Like, if it's on the map, that's where they're going to be. That is their #1 priority. Light going to hook nothing, just checking to see whether anyone is sitting in the brush. Opportunistic hooks, you love to see it.
Yeah, free farm here for Zeus, and he buys that first rod. And he is in a great position damage-wise here. If he goes for the death cap, as you mentioned, Chronicler, and he's just sitting there buying these components. Now they're grouped up for Baron, and GT has to respect this, and they could just back away. They have teleport for both of their solo laners here. There's so many things that Genji has to deal with all at once.
And 2 factors here. 1, the spikes. Faker just getting his stone blades, Guma getting his IE. If you thought he chunked before, just wait until you see him land some autos as there is the Baron.
Yeah, immediately they started up as soon as they get that control ward down. Information now given. Peanut on vision now as Doran finds the flank. Can he get it? There it is! The delivery, but Gumayusi's still alive for so long, but Chovy will be able to take him down. Pace still alive, flashes away from Ona, and in the backline it is Havoc being wrought on T1. Another charm will connect. Faker is incredibly tanky though, as now Doran has to get out of there. We need to see the carry from you. Pace is over the wall. Is carry in the final spark is avoided, and Pace will do it. Picks up the double kill, and can Genji now get the Baron? I think they've turned it around.
He's popping off here. His positioning is so good. He avoids the ultimate there from Keria. And once you are able to secure that pick onto Guma, the fight becomes so simple. FaZe lives, T1 lose that fight, and that's going to be Baron. And there's nothing that Keria can do to look for a steal here. But the performance of this player who's looking for his first title here in his first tournament is just phenomenal.
And it's Pace that knocks him down, but it's Doran again that sets it up. This man deserves so much credit for being, and I think fairly so, considered the weak point of Gen G. And look at this engage.
When your coach is Score, you can do things like this on Gragas, Chronicler.
And Faker just so desperately wishes he could have blocked that charm, but he's just not able to. I think that Guma dies regardless here. Peanut buys so much space here for Pace on the right side of the fight, and while Faker is tanky, once he all-outs, Pace can delete him.
Oh my, and Pace actually using the loss of the Serum on the wave to completely heal up. Stays alive.
The slightest of sidesteps to avoid the final spark that would have been so much damage. Don't know whether it would have been enough to kill, but still, that movement absolutely amazing from this player who's under so much pressure. In this game, even more than game number 1. As, the gold lead now moving ever so slightly in favor of Gen G, but still 2 minutes left on the Baron. 58 seconds on this Hextech Drake. Soul point for both of these teams. And we have to reiterate, if you get Hextech Soul with either of these compositions, you basically win the game.
Yeah,
that is how it's sort of
game ending. And the Baron buff here should be able to guarantee that Gen G end up having prio for this. There should be almost no way T1 takes this. And, I mean, right now, at this moment in time, T1 are faster grouped for this. And Gen G, I mean, this is a fight you need to win, and you're not going to have that same opportunity that you had last time. It's very unlikely that you're going to delete the enemy AD carry instantly at the beginning of the fight, so you still need to be able to prove you can win a 5v5 fight even if you can't pick that AD carry. Now they're setting up that prio. The Drake is spawning here at 15.
Oh, and T1 desperately want to hold on to this mid lane turret because it gives Guma so much safety, and in general T1 way easier to fight for mid prio. But do note that it does cost them a bot lane turret. Chovy gonna have his Shadow Flame available. 4 items on
Level
this
17.
Ahri. And this is such an important fight here. If Gen G can get soul points, T1's game becomes so much harder.
And Faker is 2 full items behind this Ahri, and of course they are cheap items that Chovy has built this time around, but still, he does have a huge advantage. Soul point now on the table. They do so much damage to this Drake, but T1 not going to go down without a fight, as it is going to be secured by Gen G. They look for the flank, but the hook is going to connect. The charm connects as well, and Faker is just obliterated. And Gen G are going to be able to just walk out. T1, no response to this dragon.
Kind of a bizarre fight here for T1 because you're trying to flank on one hand as Faker, but the collapse is so easy from Gen G. That's exactly how they wanted to take out the Cassante, is just collapse on him. You set up a trap, so you've discouraged Gen G from moving left in this fight. And in fact, once they take the Drake, they're naturally going to move towards Faker, who's then spotted and collapsed on. And T1 just looking very desperate. Even Guma trying to look for the Q here for a potential steal, but you're not bars this time.
And what's crucial here,
Oh, we got another fight in live here as the outer turret is going to be taken. Carrier just demanding the respect on this Lux, is going to be able to get himself out. The Everfrost, absolutely fantastic. But Faker, he is respawning now, but they will take 2 turrets off the back of that. 1 inner still remains, but that is it for T1 of these outer turrets.
And we have seen, again in the series against KT, that T1 have the ability to come back from deficits. In the KT series, they were down even further. Faker found a miracle play. But with how the game is going right now, anything short of that, I don't know if it's going to be enough. Gen G's composition plays out so nicely, right? You have a beefy front line. You have so much damage. Both your AP damage between Doran and Chovy are very hard to deal with. But then you also have a monster fed Aphelios here in Pace. And for them to actually be able to deal with anything while also staving off a Hextech Soul is incredibly hard.
It is, and also the damage, like, I like what Zeus is doing with his build, right? This is maximizing the amount of damage that you can do, but Paze is going to be a bruiser. We've said this so many times. I don't think 100 to 0ing this guy on this Aphelios is going to be as easy as find a flank as Doran. He's going to do just that. Gumayushi does QSS though, as Chovy finds the angle, doesn't find the charm though, as now Faker is looking to protect his teammates, but Zeus is going to be picked off, and now Faker's going to get body slammed. Chovy is just dancing around the fight, but Moonlight Vigil crucially goes wide, and Gen G will have to back away.
We've seen these teleports from Zeus before. This is not the one you want. I mean, Gen G might be able to push to grab this inhibitor here off of this play, and Gen G once again just striking back. Doran coming into the mid lane. They might be able to look for even more here. Guma's respawned, but they've got a wave.
Who is this Doran?
I have no idea.
Where has he been? Where did he come from?
I think he read Reddit. He made the mistake last night, and he heard what people were saying. And he's like, well, I'll just have to show you. As Faker looks for the Q, doesn't find it there on a Pace. He's going to connect his, though. Does a bit of damage back as the cask, just to try and disengage here from T1. And Gen G, I mean, their wallets are so thick right now, they'll go back to base and they'll send Boris to collect his wares.
And until this moment, I was going to say it's still winnable for T1. I think there's still a chance. This is mistimed from Carrier. Doran's able to get on top of Guma, who immediately QSS's, but he's now out of the fight. Toby is behind enemy lines, and Zeus, with this mistake of teleporting into the fight to try to turn it, it's already over. It's done. There's nothing you can do, and Guma, he doesn't have to flash critically. But before this, I was going to say, there's flash on Guma, Zeus has flash engage. The next fight should be T1's if they play it correctly, but it's their last chance. But they don't even get that chance. Doran says no.
One thing that's big is no flashes on Doran and Pace. So T1, if they can use that, maybe they can try and contest for this Soul, but if Gen G takes a Baron before that, no contest is going to be possible.
Yeah. And if that's the 5-head play, Wolf, then, oh my goodness,
This has to be
imagine
the
that,
one
like,
fight.
do anything to get Paze's flash so we can win a team fight and get a Baron. But let's see whether they can do it as Peanut looking for that flank angle already. Faker soaking so much damage, has to flash to get himself out as there is another cast to get the mini stomach collective with the anchor. Absolutely amazingly done from Delight and from this Gragas as Faker goes all out, but he's going to have to get out, but he's not going to be able to. Chovy picks up that kill. Ona's going to pick up a minion wave to desperately try and save the base, but it's not going to save them from the wrath of this Gen G Baron.
Easy Baron pickup here now for Gen G. And once again, this is the fight that T1 had to win. They had to win it, but they're Faker's off on his own. Zeus dies. And that's that.
It's not just Baron. There are Hextech gates on the map. They can go straight towards a Hextech Soul, and Gen G might be looking to go up 2-0 as Delight starts up the fight, but T1, you can feel what do they do from here once they've lost control with this composition.
And unseen in this fight really is how much Peanut did without pressing any buttons. Just by pushing Guma away, there's no peel. Faker's alone. He gets basically 100-0. He survives for so long. And Zeus is like, I'm trying to set up the ult, so then I can have my Caitlyn come through and I have Faker there, but Faker's so low, he instantly then dies when he's caught by the Nautilus ultimate from Delight. And Guma's just not even in the fight. Doesn't matter how many items you have if you can't actually do damage because T1's front line, or rather Gen G's front line, is too immense, and your front line is getting decimated.
And that's a free Hextech Soul, gentlemen. This is so much power for Gen G. It's as close to Exodia as you can get without an Elder. Which is the silliest thing
They
I
should
think
be
I've
able to
ever
push
said.
that end.
And now they're looking for it. They do have traps set up, but this mid lane is completely open. Doran and Peanut able to freely move in. Right now, T1 holding the line as best they can. Oh, that is just gigantic damages. Guma is going to be picked off yet again. Zeus trying to defend. They blow up Peanut before he can really do anything, but the base is still in shambles. Doran in trouble. Can they get that pick off as well? That would be huge. But oh my goodness, Paze every auto attack is just doing 1,000,000 damage.
Not to mention that he can proc the Hextech with his Calibrum so easily here, and he's just constantly keeping T1 at base, so even though they almost get the kill on the Doran, the follow-up is just so difficult, the power of Hextech Soul. T1 at least survive.
Oh, Moonlight Vigil comes down. Okay, Carrier, can he survive? He's like, I'm just clearing vision here, guys. I'm clearing vision, just let me do my job, okay?
Surviving, though, is not the goal. It's not the win condition here for T1, and dropping 2 games in this series. Zeus is 1-6. It's the elephant in the room. He's been caught so many times this game.
Well, Chovy's inside the Baron pit, but Faker all on his own. Delight in position once again. The charm's going to land. The dredge line's there. He mitigates the CC. Goes all out against the Nautilus. Can Faker survive this? There are so many Gen G members bearing down on him, and Faker accepts his fate. He needs to get into that death chamber as soon as possible so that he can be out to defend.
Feels like we might have an upset on our hands if this continues, gentlemen.
It's
either that or Silver Scrapes, Wolf. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, there are 2 outcomes here. Either we get one of the sickest finals of all time, and T1 bounce it back, or Gen G, unanimously agreed upon to be the heavy underdog here today, are going to take a commanding lead.
And maybe we see a Royal Rotor.
We could. Pace, and if he does it in 3, oh my God, Doran, he finds it again! The body slam flash double kill for Chovy. Carrier, nothing he can do about it. And that is going to be Gen G sealing the deal on this game number 2. And T1, they are not out of it yet. There is still hope, but it is hanging by a thread. Match point here for Gen G.
This is an outclassing of solo lanes by Gen G. In the laning phase, I'll give it to you, Zeus. I'll give it to you, Faker. Zeus was up 30 CS this game. He had total pile and control. Look at how the fights are going. Look at the impact Doran has made on low eco. And his impact is way larger. Chovy's impact way larger than Faker's in this game. And we are on the precipice, match point for Gen G here, of the biggest upset we have had in a long time in the LCK.
And have you seen Space Jam?
Yeah.
I think we're going to need to call that timeout. We're going to get a bit of Faker's secret stuff and we're gonna have to make sure that everyone on T1 is playing to their maximum moving into game number 3. Change up that strategy, maybe ban a Gragas, because Doran has just been too good on this pick. Force him to play something else. But man, it looks like it's gonna have to be back to the drawing board and just play your best League of Legends here for T1.
I wouldn't be shocked if they end up going to red side. Like, something needs to change here. You need to make a big switch up. If it's blue side again, and Genji, because the key thing, as you're saying, I think that the only lane that is looking like themselves is specifically the bot lane, which is Guma and Korea. But they're doing great, sure, but Paze and the Lights are not giving them any openings. So if Guma and Korea get a couple of 1,000 gold lead, but the rest of the map is in complete shambles, Zeus dying in the 1v1, Owner unable to match the impact that Peanut